The Browns, they're putrid. They're the worst team in the NFL.
The season, the 2024 season is over.
Lamar Jackson can't win the playoffs. He'll win a third MVP, though, so that's great.
Drew Sample is the most important piece of the Bengals offense next year.
Go Joe Burrow. He deserves to be MVP. I wish he was the Browns quarterback. Kind of mean that.
If you're looking for the most reactionary, silly, and unserious show on the internet, then you're home. Live from Hamilton, Ohio, it's Off the Bench by Chatterbox Sports on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, everybody, welcome in Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Great start. Fumbled right off the
Phenomenal.
bat, you know. I felt great to start, and then I fumbled over the words. I had a bad night. Night. That's what a wise man once said. I had a bad night. I had a bad day. I had a bad start. But welcome in. We decided to fire Casey. Casey's no longer here, so we brought Reed back. Reed, this is just, I just need you to. It's like a tryout again. We're just trying here. We're just trying.
See, for it to be a tryout, I'd want to be on your team. And after the way that I was treated the first time around, I just don't think I want to be on your team. So this isn't a tryout. This is just me loaning my services to you.
Technically, I work for you guys, so technically, I'm on your team. But no, welcome back. Shout out to Casey. I know Casey, who enjoyed his time off last week and unfortunately just got really sick. I know you guys couldn't see him yesterday, but I mean, it was pretty rough.
Yeah, when Jimmy got here and Casey told him not to sit next to him, that's when you knew it was rough. He was looking out for everyone's well-being, stayed over there in the corner. Elliot's going on vacation here soon.
Yeah.
Didn't want to get Elliot sick.
You're the only one happy he's not here right now.
Yeah,
Well, thank God.
we were all kind of on edge yesterday.
I was going to come in here with Clorox wipes, and we were just going to wipe everything down just to make sure. But, yeah, Casey, very sorry he's sick, but, I don't know.
Get better away from me.
I hope he gets better.
Yep.
After you leave.
After I leave.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a while for we have the whole crew back together. I mean, my gosh, you guys. Which, by the way, this is the time to take vacation. I'm the silly one that takes a week off in September. So, is what it is.
Yeah. No, I will say this. I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to it. To going out to Hilton Head. It'll be nice. I'll be able to golf many days of the week. The weather will be nice. It'll be warm. It'll be pleasant. Hopefully, my allergies will go away once I get to South Carolina. And then I'll forget about the Reds. Then I'll forget all about them when I get over there.
You know what I'm going to do for you today?
What's that?
We're not even going to talk Reds, at least in the first hour.
I like that.
Now, I don't know if that's good for the listeners. If the listeners want us to talk Reds, we'll do exactly what they want. But we will talk Reds coming up here in just a little bit. I wanted to open up with some Bengals stuff just because there's Bengals stuff to talk about.
I saw that.
I like that.
It's a good feeling.
Yeah, it is, because that means the season's getting here. I like the petty camp stuff too, because then we get that out of the system, and then when we get to the week one, then it's like, oh cool, now we can just dissect how they're playing and stuff. But no, Reed, appreciate you. Welcome back.
Yep.
Obviously, Jimmy, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Great.
See?
And that was
Good morning.
there's a little bit in there.
Yeah, like he's rocking the hoodie in July.
Yeah, the day after school ball pitches, Jimmy usually comes in here with a little bit more of a glow.
Yeah. It's always nice going home on the night before a school ball outing, and then it's usually a win, so I'm very happy about those. He's going to win the Cy Young, and if he gets traded, well, I don't know if I'll come back into the office. But
Take a little bit of a break.
Future Red.
You like the shirt?
Yeah.
Why, thank you. I bought it 2 years ago, got really fat, couldn't wear it, put it on today, and it fits again.
Well, congratulations.
So,
Well,
it's a good
congratulations.
day.
You
It's
look
a great
great,
day.
Justin. You look great.
It's a good day, I had to lower the chair just in case it's not fitting below, down here. But we're good. We're good. But no, Elliot, good morning. Jacob, good morning. We're off and rolling. Let's open up with a little Cincinnati Bengals talk, of course. Mike Brown rarely talks, but when he does, it's always a treat. It's always a treat. I always look forward to when Mike Brown addresses the media. But no, look, there was a lot of good stuff yesterday to take away from Duke Tobin addressing the media, Zach Taylor addressed the media, and Mike Brown addressed the media. They did their media day yesterday, and there's a lot to dissect, a lot to take away. And I know we touched on it a little bit yesterday. I think the biggest takeaway, regardless of whatever storylines come out of this, is that the biggest news to me for Bengals fans and even non-Bengals fans who are paying attention, because we all know how good Joe Burrow is when he's healthy. They basically came out yesterday and said he is 100%. He is ready to rock. He is ready to go. And that is a good thing as far as that's concerned, because we've had the Bengals have had noisy off seasons the last couple years. Even though last year at this time it wasn't noisy, there was a lot of people who were kind of sitting back waiting for the announcement of the contract to get done. Once that got done, we thought it was full steam ahead. And then, of course, that dreary day when the calf injury happened, when many people thought, man, I hope it's not an Achilles. There was so many question marks out there. But I want to start with Mike Brown's comment yesterday that had a lot of people talking. He said he made a mistake. He said that he misstepped. And there's one thing I like that he said, too, because we all hate meddling owners, right? Like, we don't like we like the way Jerry Jones spends his money, but we don't like the way he spends it, as far as he feels now he has the right to just basically be the coach, to be the GM, to be everything. But that is his right. That is his team. But we know last year we talked about that calf injury. Joe Burrow obviously comes up hobbling in camp, and everyone's holding their breath. And obviously they rest him for pretty much the entire preseason. He gets ramped up in the week heading into week 1. Did not look very good against the Browns, obviously. Now, the elements did not help that situation either. I don't think he looked very good that entire first month of the season. But there was a point where the offense was just not producing anything. The passing game was flat. The run game was flat. There was Joe Burrow wasn't throwing touchdowns. I mean, it was pretty rough to start that first month of the season. Everyone remembers that clip of Mike Brown basically with the golf cart coming up, or with the gator or whatever it was, and Joe Burrow and him are kind of driving around practice or whatever, and everyone's like, man, to be a fly on the, not really a wall, I guess, but on the steering wheel, whatever you wanted to call it. What are they talking about? I don't think we ever got what they were talking about until yesterday, right, when he basically, Mike Brown, the owner, came out and said, I told him I didn't want him to play. I told him I didn't want him to play. I overstepped, and ultimately he ended up playing. So then the media kind of laughed, and I thought that was an interesting point, because we never hear people complain about Mike Brown a lot. Never heard anyone say, oh, he's a meddling owner. His decisions may get in the way of some of the success or non-success, depending on what season we're talking about. But overall, you don't really hear his name a lot throughout the season. That's a good thing. But before I dive into whether or not I like that he said that, I'm curious your guys' thoughts. When you heard that he told Joe Burrow on that golf cart or whatever it was that, hey, I don't want you to play, and he ultimately played anyways, and then he comes out and says, I made a mistake, I overstepped. Did he overstep? Because I'm very curious how people are going to perceive this. I actually didn't mind him telling him to not play, as far as that's concerned. Your thoughts? We'll start with Jacob.
I do think he overstepped. That's just kind of my view for sports as a whole. I think the coaches should coach and the owners should own, and those two things should be separate. We see how that's kind of taking place in Carolina right now, with David Tepper taking a lot of control of that team, and how they really haven't been able to gain any ground in this rebuild. But at the end of the day, the main takeaway I had was I loved the transparency. We don't see Mike Brown talk a lot. We certainly don't see owners of any team saying they made a mistake very often. So I loved to see Mike Brown come out and just, stay level with the media, tell him what happened, and tell him he thinks it was a mistake, and hopefully we don't see the owner meddling with the lineup ever again. So I really liked this clip, even though I didn't necessarily like that he was, meddling with the lineup.
I don't think he overstepped. He owns when you own the team, I think you have a fair say. And when your star quarterback, when the guy you're paying hundreds of millions of dollars to, is clearly not well, or maybe not ready, or you think he's not ready to go, you say, I don't want you to play. It's my opinion. Now, if he was saying you're not going to play,
that's what I took it as.
That's what I thought. I didn't know which one it was, really. It's either you're not going to play, I'm not letting you, or I don't think you should. If it was an I don't think you should, I have no issue with it whatsoever at
Agreed.
all. If it was a you're not playing, this is my decision, then yeah, maybe you're overstepping, because that's not his job to do it. But at the end of the day, he's the owner of the team. He can say whatever he wants. I took it the same way as Jacob did, though. It's Mike Brown looking like a competent owner. He's saying, you know what, I messed up. Whether or not he did mess up, I think is irrelevant, because him admitting to it and him admitting fault is a big step for Mike Brown. I don't think you've seen that out of him, and I don't know. I've been a fan of the Bengals for 25 years. I haven't seen anything like this from Mike Brown. So I thought it was cool to see, and yeah, it's very evident that the Bengals franchise took such a turn when Burrow got here, and you're seeing that right now everywhere. When the owner of the team is saying, you know what, I messed up. I shouldn't have been involved with Joe Burrow, whether or not he should be playing. That's massive. So yeah, I'm happy that Mike Brown came out and said it. I think it's pretty damn cool that our owner at this very moment looks like one of the most competent owners in the league.
Is this a story of an owner overstepping, Or is this a story of an owner having no real sway in his own building?
Yeah.
Because if the owner is gonna tell the quarterback, hey, you're not playing this Monday. We got a game on national television, and I don't want you to play. And they got off the cart, and what did Joe Burrow do? He continued practice, he went through the week, and then he played. So if you're the owner, if you have the overall say, and I think we can agree that if he did come in and say that and he didn't play, that is overstepping. But in the same jest, if he's telling the quarterback, hey, you're not playing, and the quarterback go ahead, just plays, how much sway do you have as an owner? I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. I'm just saying, what does it say when you come out and say, yeah, I told him he wasn't going to play, and then he went out and played? What does that say about the organization? Right. That's what I'm wondering.
So that's – and Jimmy, we did skip over you. My apologies. No, right away. So, again, he comes out, says, I overstepped. Do you think he overstepped as an owner when he pulled Joe Burrow on that cart and said, and you're right, was it you're not playing?
I think the quote
I got to go back and listen to the quote again. I didn't have it lined up. So he either said, you're not playing, or I don't want you to play. It's all basically the same thing. But he said he feels bad about it even to this day.
Yeah, I don't think he should feel bad about it at all, considering he owns the team. He's making a majority of the decisions in regards to the team, where the money's going. He's paying Joe Burrow $55 million a year. I think that he should at least have somewhat of a say if Joe Burrow is hurt and this injury could get worse and that could jeopardize his future with the Bengals. I think if Mike Brown wants to say, I don't want you to play, I don't think he has any problem doing that. I don't think he should have a problem. And I think it's kind of interesting seeing him kind of walk it back. And I do think that it is cool that he came out and said that, because that's something that we might have never known had he not said something about it. But no, I think he owns the team. He's paying Burrow $55 million a year. He's the highest paid quarterback in the league. I think he should get a little bit of a say in terms of if he's injured and going out and playing, and he doesn't want that to jeopardize his future with the team. I think that should be completely fine.
The quote from Mike Brown was, I went out there to tell Joe Burrow he wasn't going to play. Okay. He played. So obviously that could be, talking about it months later. Maybe he told him, I don't want you to play, but.
Well, it's like, so what happened? Because, listen, if Trey's here and he does all the things, but if he comes in and he says, Elly, you're not on the show today. Guess who's not on the show? Elliot. So when the owner,
I've seen this movie before.
when he says, hey, Reed, you're not on the show anymore. Guess who doesn't get on the show unless Casey gets a torn ACL or they're sick, whatever he's got up there at Mason. But here's the thing. He went out there. They had the little cart ride. It was the secret meeting on the golf cart, and he played. Was there a subsequent conversation with Zach Taylor? Was there a subsequent conversation with Duke Tobin? Was there a subsequent conversation with Joe Burrow? Or did it happen right there? He said, Joe, you're not playing. And up until kickoff, Mike Brown believed, hey, I told our franchise quarterback he wasn't going to play. He's not playing today. And then he just goes and sees Joe Burrow go out there for the opening kickoff, for the opening drive. What happened? There's so many more layers to this story that I just don't understand. And maybe in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter, because I think we can all agree that you don't want an owner overstepping. Typically, that doesn't end up well. Look at the Cowboys with Jerry Jones. Like, they've been a good team, but they haven't been to a conference championship in 30 years, and that's one of the most proud organizations in professional sports. But what does it say when the owner outwardly says, I told our guy he's not playing, and he went out and played 4 days later? There's dissent in the ranks.
But here's the thing with that. You look at the Bengals. Who's more important to the team right now, Joe Burrow or Mike Brown? It's almost a shift. I don't want to compare Joe Burrow to LeBron James, but when LeBron James goes to a team, he is the most important person in that franchise. Owner, GM, coach, doesn't matter. It's LeBron's show, and everybody else is beneath him. Joe Burrow with the Bengals, I'm not comparing Joe Burrow to LeBron James, but it's almost similar. If we don't have Joe Burrow, we don't have a lot. So I'm just saying right now, I think if Mike Brown's outwardly saying this, I almost think that Reed is somewhat correct, that there is a shift in the power dynamic of the Cincinnati Bengals, because it's Joe's world, and they're all living in it.
So this is where the wrinkle comes in, and I like how you said that, because, again, how great Joe Burrow is. But go back to this time. We're a couple weeks into the season. Think about Joe Burrow 3 weeks into last season is not the Joe Burrow we know when he's healthy. When Joe Burrow is healthy, it's back-to-back AFC Championship games. When Joe Burrow is healthy, he's taking them to a Super Bowl. When Joe Burrow is healthy, they have Super Bowl expectations, and they did not look like a team that – they did not look like a Super Bowl caliber team the first month of last year. And look, at the end of the day, we know Joe Burrow's health played a big role in that. He was statistically, I know Casey got mad at me the last time I said this. This isn't really a Kinner opinion. I mean, if you go back, it was national media, and a lot of media had the opinion, and the stats backed it up. Joe Burrow statistically was one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL the first month of the season last year. He was completing 55% of his passes. He had only thrown 2 touchdowns in the entire first month. They were stalling drives. They couldn't get the run game going, which wasn't helping, obviously. That's not a shot at Joe Burrow. That was the limitations that were set, the production that was limited due to the injury. So I'm going to defend Mike Brown from this point. He's apologizing. I wouldn't apologize. You look weak, Mike Brown. You finally had people around the league looking at you saying, man, you righted the ship. You got things back together. And now you look weak because it looks like the success that the team is having is in spite of you. I told him he wasn't going to play, and he played anyways. Kind of like you talked about. It's like, well, who's running things? At the same time, Mike Brown, I thought, was the only one that was making sense at that time because he shouldn't have played. There was a lot of people that were questioning whether or not he should have been playing. Now, Bengals fans will tell you he gives them the best chance at winning. Joe Burrow, the name does, but not Joe Burrow, the quarterback in September of 2023. He just was not good because of the injury. Not that he's not good. He just wasn't good because of that. And then you see Jake Browning and how good he was, and obviously ranked, I saw a list the other day, the #1 backup quarterback in the NFL, and this, that, and the other. Bottom line is, I just thought it was weird. I would also love to know what set this up. Like, what did he just come out of nowhere and just start talking about this from last year? I really want to go back and listen to the questions leading into it that set Mike Brown up to say this. Like you said, it's not the biggest deal, but it does give people like me and others an opportunity to pounce and say, well, wait a minute. If you're the owner and you tell your quarterback he's not playing, and then the coach and quarterback say, I don't care what the owner says, you're playing, it's a weird dynamic. Winning can erase that, but if they start losing, people will use this and say, oh, there's dissent, as you talked about, Reed, in the Bengals front office.
Yeah, the final thing I'll say before, because I think we got to get to a break here, is I believe the question came out because I think it was Marshall Kramsky, one of the local anchors here, sports anchors in the city. He's the one that got the clip of Joe Burrow going on the cart last year, and that question clearly sat on his mind because it was such an unprecedented event where the owner comes out mid-practice, takes the star player for a little golf cart ride around the facility, brings him back, drops him off. He's waiting, beckoning for a chance to ask Mike Brown this exact question, and he did. And Mike Brown was very honest, was very forthcoming. But I still think that there's so much to unpack here. I don't even want to do the whole should Joe Burrow have played, because it doesn't matter at this point. That's the story for last year. The better story is how much authority does Mike Brown have in the building? Which I think if you would ask Bengals fans 5 years ago, they wanted Mike Brown to have zero authority in the building, and maybe that's what's becoming. But it is interesting to see the face of the organization, the face of the owner of the franchise, coming out and saying, like, hey, I gave a very direct order, and it was not followed, and he laughed about it. I thought that was so interesting.
All right, you're listening to watching Off the Bench. Sorry, the radio side of me. You're watching and listening in Dayton, depending on how you're taking in the program. Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Justin Kinner with you here. We got Reed, we got Jimmy, we got Elliot, we got Jacob, and we got a lot more to get into. More Off the Bench coming up next. Oh, hi.
Welcome back.
Don't know when you're going to be. We're back. No. Welcome back. Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Trying to figure out where to put it. I'm just going to put it right here.
No, but I wouldn't put it there. I would put it beneath it.
There we go.
There you go.
Found it. No, Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. We opened up again. I love the fact that owners are addressing media, GMs, Duke Tobin, Zach Taylor, because it's given us stuff to dissect, and that's what I love. So, talking Cincinnati Bengals to open up the show. We got Elliot's headlines coming up around the corner. We will get into the Reds because the Reds are back, baby. They're back.
Not doing it.
They are back. They are buyers now, dude. They won last night. They are back. I don't care what Elliott says. They're not losing the rest of the year, dude.
I hope they don't.
And you did.
I try.
You're more mad that they won than when they lost.
I am. I think I am. I'm to a point where I'm so broken that when they win, I get frustrated because I just know they're going to lose. And that's what it is. So I'd rather them just lose and get it out of the way so I don't have to discuss it any longer.
I wish they would just be what they are.
Yeah, but we don't know what they are. That's the craziest part
But
about
we
the
do
Reds.
know what they are.
They're
They're going to beat the
average.
playoff teams and lose to the Tigers, Marlins, and Nationals.
It's true.
Ugh, the Tigers.
And the Rockies.
And the Rockies.
The Tigers. Ugh.
Tigers are gross, aren't they? And that's a gross city.
All right.
I will say.
What's with the Detroit strays? What's with that? Doesn't Detroit have enough strays?
Very nice. I thought we were going to have to correct him, but then you dropped the elbow.
There we
right
go.
back. I like it.
Can they drink water yet or no?
That's Flint, not
Okay.
Detroit.
I was just wondering. But yeah, I'm very happy for the Reds. Every time they win a game, I feel better. But at the same time, you know what it is. You know what it is now. Actually, I just root for individual performances.
Yeah, me too.
I root when Hunter Greene's out there. I want him to pitch well, so people can stop saying he's a reliever and a closer. He's clearly. I think Reed was. We were working last night, and Reed looks at me. He's just like, he's been phenomenal. He's been better than we could have probably asked for this year. When you're rocking a 3.1 ERA at Great American Ballpark as your home ballpark, you've had a very good season. If he finishes this year under 3, I will be wildly impressed. Wildly impressed because I didn't think that was possible. I think if he's a 3.5 pitcher, that's fine by me. And Reed was talking about it last night. Great American Ballpark. It's a batter's ballpark, so hitter friendly ballpark. So it's difficult to pitch there. And Hunter Greene's done a phenomenal job this season. So that's what I look for. I look for individual performances now.
I love when we talk about how difficult it is to pitch there. Everyone around the league could hit there.
Except for the
our
Reds.
own damn team.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating.
Yeah, no.
But we'll get into more Reds coming up, but they did get a win last night. Like I said, they're back. They are so back. My expectations are super high. They're going to win the division. They're going to win a World Series because they won Game 1 against the Atlanta Braves last
That's right.
They always win Game 1, though. They're a Game 1 team.
Not against the Tigers.
That's a good point.
Not against the Tigers.
Not against the Nationals.
Not
Or
even
the
yeah.
Nationals.
That's right.
Any other sweeps we can
a lot.
muster up off the top of our
That's
head?
right.
It's been a lot of sweeps. They've been involved with a lot of sweeps. But no, so the Mike Brown comment's what we opened up with as far as that's concerned. It reminds, what was the game? Oh, it was when Hunter Greene threw up. I remember you guys having the debate about whether or not he should have been pulled. And the thing that's interesting, the one wrinkle to tie into this Joe Burrow thing from last year when Mike Brown basically admitted yesterday, I told him he's not going to play. He ultimately ended up playing. There's a lot of layers to this. Like, for one, there's the layer of, as a fan, I don't like when my owner meddles, right? Like, we hate, we make fun of the Cowboys because Jerry Jones, yes, that's his team, but he runs the team. He picks the players. He drafts the players. He coaches the team. He makes, he oversteps a lot. And fans don't like that. So it's refreshing to hear an owner like Mike Brown say, I don't like to overstep. I don't like to get in the way. I apologize. Because fans like that, they don't think this is a problem. I don't think it's a huge problem. I don't even think it should be talked about past this day. I do think, though, you could do that when you're winning. Mike Brown can say things like that, and players and coaches ignore the owner as long as they're winning. But it's like you start mixing and losing with it, then it's a problem. It's also a good thing that Joe Burrow's season-ending injury was not a result of the calf, right? Because I do think there would be more to it. If Joe Burrow goes out and he's out for the season because the calf turns into an Achilles and then he's out for the year, Reed, do you think that changes things a little bit? Like, I think this becomes a story if the owner says, hey, because of that calf and the way you're looking, you're not playing. He plays, and then the season-ending injury, luckily it's the wrist, and it wasn't a result of what the injury was at the time. I think they've lucked out there if there's such thing, because I think then there would be more of a story.
Yeah, there's more of a story there because obviously it's like, hey, you didn't listen to your owner. Hey, now because he didn't listen to the owner, your franchise quarterback, his most valuable asset as an owner of a company is dwindling, is depreciating in value. Yeah, there's no doubt about that it'd be more of a story, but we can't look at things in hindsight and say, if this happened, then we'd be talking about this, or if this happened, then we'd be talking about this. We can't keep doing that. I think all we can look at is what did we want as fans 5 years ago? And we didn't want Mike Brown making a whole lot of decisions 5 years ago. And now we know that he's not making a whole lot of decisions. In fact, the one that he was so prudent on doing, they didn't even listen to him. That's a story. I think that's more of a story than I think a lot of people here in Cincinnati will talk about is what is Mike Brown's role in this organization going forward. I think it's something that's going to get brushed under the rug, but I think it is a very big story about what is Mike Brown here in Cincinnati.
And I think it's a good thing, though, right? Isn't that?
Yes, that's what we wanted. That's
Yeah.
what we wanted. It doesn't make it any less of a story.
That's true.
It doesn't make it any less of a
That's fair.
story
But
that this guy came down and said, hey, you are my most valuable asset. We need you to be healthy. I need you to make me money. I need you to win games for this team. And they went out and played. He disobeyed orders. And maybe there's another conversation that was had later on in the week. Maybe Joe Burrow walked up to Zach Taylor after the practice and said, hey, Mike, Mr. Brown said that I can't play this Monday. And Zach and Duke walked into Mike Brown's office and said, hey, Joe's going to play. We need him to play. And they had a very diplomatic conversation about what the best course forward is, and they laid it all out, and they decided as a full organization, hey, maybe it is best that we play Joe Burrow. But for whatever reason, Mike Brown felt the need, and this is another thing, that Mike Brown had to do it kind of covertly, right? I mean, he did it out in broad daylight, did it in front of cameras, did all these things, but he didn't say, hey, Zach Taylor, Duke Tobin, Joe Burrow, meet in my office at 2 p.m. today.
You're right. We
gotta have a discussion. He said, I'm gonna kind of ambush him. I'm gonna see if I can use my weight here in this organization to say, hey, I'm gonna go out there during practice while Zach's doing other things, while Duke's doing other things, while everyone else is doing other things, and I'm just gonna pick Joe Burrow up in my little golf cart. We're gonna ride around at 8 miles an hour, and we're gonna make city-changing decisions. And they didn't listen to him at the end of it. I think it's crazy.
Yeah, I love the layers to this because, again, there's so many different – how it impacts people. From a fan perspective, we love it. From an organization standpoint, it leaves a lot of question marks. And the thing about Cincinnati, the media in Cincinnati, and this isn't a shot at the media in Cincinnati, if this was New York, this is a story. If this is Dallas, this is a story. If this is Los Angeles, this is a story. We're talking about it. We won't talk about it again after this show unless more comes out, but I am 105% positive that a reporter will not dive deeper into this, even though we're all asking these questions. And if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But we'll see what ends up happening. Look, this isn't a shot at Cincinnati media, but I do think it's a soft media market. They coddle the organization so that people won't dive into this more. Now, you as fans are saying, I don't really care. I don't want to hear more, and that's great. But I'm just saying, this is a different city, a bigger city. I do believe this becomes a bigger story around the league.
There's definitely more to this that should probably be dug into, but I think since he did play, it'll die. If he had sat out because of this, whatever, then it would definitely be a bigger story. But I think since he did play and the Bengals did win the game, and like you said, it wasn't the calf injury that ended up leading him out for the season, I think it'll just die.
You said in the first segment that you thought it was soft. It was soft of Mike Brown to kind of walk back his his initial reaction, which is, Joe Burrow, you're not playing. You thought it was soft. I think you would want that in today's professional sports. You want to be a pro player owner, not the biggest hard ass in the world. I have no issue with that whatsoever. I just thought that was interesting because, again, it is somewhat of a soft media market for sure. I think there's been one really critical reporter here in the city, and that's shout out, I think, to Gordo. Gordo's taken that, and all credit to him. But I do think there is a point where I'd rather have my owner be the weaker guy, a softer owner, than have that hard-ass, hard-nosed guy that nobody wants to play for, and everybody doesn't, it's not a fun work environment. And I think he probably was that for a long time. I think he was that hard-nosed owner that no player wanted to come for, and he's Mr. Brown, this is our guy. This is our boss. There's no golf cart rides at all. He talks to somebody, that person talks to us. There's no direct contact with Mr. Brown. But now I think things have changed so much where he's accepted to what this franchise has become in that way. I have no issue with it whatsoever. I just wanted to make that point. I never got to comment on that.
Let me fix that a little bit. I think it was the only reason I said it was soft is because I don't think he was wrong, and the reasoning for why he didn't want him to play was not the wrong reason. That's why, I guess. I don't think the owner, who everyone labels as cheap, who is about to make the quarterback the highest paid player ever in the history of the NFL, and he did at this point. He was already. I don't look at that as being a bad owner of trying to look out for his investment, basically, and saying it's not as if you're playing well and risking injury. You're injured, and you're also playing very poorly. Let's not make this worse. Luckily, it didn't. Like, we don't need to keep repeating it. Luckily, it didn't. That's the only thing is I just wish he wouldn't have even answered that yesterday. Like, some owners just don't even answer it. But I do think, like Reed said, that reporter was probably just sitting on that footage waiting to ask that question, and I don't think that they were prepared to answer it. You know, I think PR sets up a lot of the owners and the GMs of, hey, these are the questions you're probably going to be fielded. Just be prepared for how to answer them. I do not think that one was I don't think they were waiting on that one as far as that goes.
We've got to get someone who covers, you know, a Jay who's been on the show or something like that. Because I want to hear their opinions on this. And this isn't being. I'm not trying to be overly critical over the reporters who report on this more so than we do. You know, they're asking the questions
in the trenches,
to these
right?
players. Yeah. But you are right that if we were in New York City, if we were in LA, if we were in Chicago, heck, if we were in Dallas or Philadelphia, there would be more questions about the descending ranks, about who makes the decisions. I don't think there's going to be more questions. I think that they got Mike Brown's answer, and it just moves on from there. I don't think anyone's going to dig deep, and there is a story here. There is a story about, hey, how much sway does Mike Brown have over his own organization? Are they pushing him out of the decision-making? What does this mean that if this became a bigger story, is Mike Brown going to get to talk to the media anymore? What happens because of this rippling effect? I think that this is going to be swept under the rug, and maybe it's not as big of a story as I am making it out to be. But when I saw the clip, my brain started rushing with 100 different questions about what is going on in the Cincinnati Bengals front office, because I don't know. I don't know if the owner can't make a say on who plays and who doesn't. If he had the motive to go down there, to go see practice and tell the player he's not playing, then he goes out and plays anyways, and he's joking about it 9 months later, 10 months later. What's going on? I don't know.
And we'll definitely talk to a Bengals reporter coming up later on in the week. There was more from yesterday. We got that big one out of the way, of course. That one had a lot of people talking yesterday. A more positive story, too. And I'm seeing different ways of how people are reporting on this.
Well, a positive story, unless you're Adam Schefter, of course.
And that's what I was saying.
What a clown that guy is.
I mean, he's just the worst.
You guys
he's just
so
the
soft,
worst.
right? No,
Mike Brown doesn't give him contract leaks, so he just hates on the Bengals 24/7.
That's how you
We
become
will
an insider.
bend over backwards to sign Jamar Chase.
We'll just take
Adam
that quote
Schefter,
out.
quote, "We're not going to sign Jamar Chase till later."
Well, no, my girl Kelsey Conway, love Kelsey Conway. Now she's getting some of that heat too.
Yep.
Because you are right. No matter what anyone's opinion is, and I still think this will get bumpy at some point, but I do think that no matter how bumpy it gets, that quote will always be what people go back to. We will bend over backwards to get this deal done, because there is no such thing as a simple negotiation. I don't think that, I mean, they want Jamar Chase. They wanted Joe Burrow. The Joe Burrow contract took longer than I think we all even anticipated. Yeah. I'm not a Bengals fan. You guys are. I think you were even shocked at how long not long, but like the fact that it took until right on the eve of camp before it was announced. I think that had some people surprised. It didn't get ugly, but nothing got out, right? And we'll see what happens with this Jamar Chase thing. But yes, so Mike Brown did say, we will bend over backwards to get this deal done with Jamar Chase. But my girl, Kelsey Conway, shout out to Kelsey Conway, she says, Bengals under Mike Brown knows it's not going to be an easy negotiation to keep Jamar Chase in Cincy based off the magnitude of money that will be involved. But the Bengals want to do anything they can to keep him in the orange and black, so she at least included that in there. There are all kinds of issues that play into this. It's not easy to resolve, but our intention is to keep Jamar Chase. So the question I have is, when you see that it's our intention to keep Jamar Chase, again, if we want to read between the lines, we could focus on we're going to bend over backwards to keep him. Our intention is to keep Jamar Chase. Sometimes teams do this over-the-top stuff to let the fans know we're doing everything we can. We're going to bend over backwards to keep Jamar Chase. It is our intention to keep Jamar Chase. I think that's insurance. I think they're covering their behinds to let the fans know if something goes crazy, if something goes left, if something ends up happening during this negotiation, just know we're doing everything we can in our power to get this done. Two different ways to look at that from yesterday, but at the end of the day, no matter how people want to twist it, I do believe they are doing everything that they feel that they can to get this deal done.
Yeah, as a fan of the organization, that's all I want to hear at this point. We still have a whole year until it's really a pressing issue for Jamar Chase, and I think, just like I said with Joe Burrow, I said he wasn't even going to start real contract negotiations until Justin Herbert signed. I think at this point, Jamar Chase is probably waiting for CeeDee Lamb, if I had to guess, because he has that whole extra year afterwards, to just drive that price up even more. So it's certainly going to be difficult. Paying $35 million to a receiver, being the highest paid receiver in the league, is never an easy contract to get set up with, structure and bonus and everything like that. So it's not crazy for him to say it's going to be difficult. And I think, fans freaking out about that aspect of the quote is not what I expected when I heard it at first. I'm focusing on the bending over backwards part. And I think it's just Mike Brown showing he understands how important Jamar Chase is to this team and this offense.
Oh, getting the signal. Okay. All right. Off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. We're going to close out this Bengals conversation on the other side. I want to get everyone's thoughts on the Jamar Chase quotes. We got Elliot's headlines coming up, and then we'll dive into the Reds' win over the Braves in Game 1 last night, taking a look at Game 2 coming up later on tonight as well, and then other news and notes around the NFL, Major League Baseball, and more. More Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. All right, welcome back. Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. I was going to make an inappropriate joke because Jacob said something funny earlier, but that was less time between the breaks, so I couldn't make it. So, I'll remember it coming up here in a little bit.
Save it for the next break.
But any closing thoughts? Again, the media, you had Mike Brown, you had Duke Tobin, you had Zach Taylor, all addressing the media yesterday. A lot of side talking points. I think the most important one out of all of them, though, regardless of the Mike Brown telling Joe Burrow he's not going to play against the Rams, and he ultimately does it anyways. Not the, hey, we're going to bend over backwards to get the Jamar Chase deal done, although you should feel good about that one because negotiations have started. Remember, there was a while where there had been no communication between either side. It is good to know that negotiations have started. But the one that to me is the most important for you guys is Joe Burrow's healthy. Like, they're not putting that out there. They're not going to tell me. Because now what that does is if you tell the media that he's 100% healthy and he's not, and then he starts out slow, we're going to say, well, what the hell? He doesn't get the excuse of injury in the first couple weeks of the season. You said he was 100% healthy. I think they know that. They would not have put that out there if they did not truly feel he was 100% ready to go. So that, to me, was the most important
That's my
thing.
thought, too. You're not putting that out there unless every single doctor that Joe Burrow has seen has signed off on his wrist. I mean, there's just no way. There's no incentive to release this at this time otherwise. You have plenty of time before camp still, and then you still have multiple weeks before the season and the preseason, everything mixed in there. No reason to release this now unless you're 100% sure, which this is probably the best thing we've heard yet, because when Jay Morrison was on last time, I know we all got a little anxious about that wrist when he said it wasn't necessarily 100% at the end of the last session. So to hear this is phenomenal news.
Real quick, I'm laughing. People don't trust me.
No, they don't. They don't at all.
I got to stop reading the comments there. Like, even I've said nothing wrong. And everyone's like, Molly just said, Kinner's not believable.
Yeah.
Someone just said he wants to see the Bengals fail. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Even like, I'm not
Will you
even
admit
saying
that?
anything. What?
You want to see the Bengals fail?
Do you want to see the Browns fail?
Yes.
Okay. So we are, but like if we're all fans, but like this idea, like media bounces all over the place. If I get a job in Florida, I'm not going to become a Marlins fan. All right, I'm not going to become. I'm not going to become. Well, valid. If I move to
Marlins
Los
fan.
What?
The Marlins man.
No,
He's boycotting.
No,
He
he's not a
boycotts.
Marlins fan anymore.
He
No,
hates
no,
the
no.
Marlins.
What
No,
happened?
yeah, because
They built the new stadium.
they wouldn't. Well, no, they wouldn't let him sit in those seats. So he denounced the Marlins. He just wears those old orange jerseys.
To every other game.
He is no longer a Marlins fan.
So I don't know what I got to do to be more.
He's abandoned his roots.
Start rooting for the Bengals. Just lie.
I can't. I think it's because people, you guys, that's the thing. You get mad if I take a shot, but then when I'm not taking a shot, it pisses you off the same amount. I don't know. I'm trying to balance this out. We'll figure it out. But no, Elliot, sorry, I cut you off there. My apologies.
I wasn't going to say anything that Jacob didn't already say. I think all fans want to hear is they have confidence in Joe Burrow's ability to play Week 1, and they've given that to us. And I think at that point, as long as, again, you don't say this unless you know the answer, right? There's no risk here. You're not making a bad bet. You know the answer. You know the outcome. And for that reason, you come out and you say it, and now all of us can cheer and be excited for Joe Burrow to be ready to go. So I don't take too much. I don't put too much weight into this. I think they were waiting until they got the 100% go ahead, clear. He is definitely ready to go. And we're going to get the fan base ready to roll. This wasn't like serving the fan base any lies to make sure everybody's there for Week 1. It's nothing like that.
I love that the listeners are also helping Reed with the tags to help, get more people's attention. The suggestions on the tags are cracking me up, by the way.
Yeah, we just put in FBI hearing, FBI live.
Oh no, keep the FBI away from me. Keep
FBI?
the FBI away from me.
Crooked FBI.
Crooked FBI is what I just threw
I see
in
Sleepy
there.
Biden's
That's
in
a
there.
Republican take.
I did throw in Sleepy Joe. We got all sorts of tags, nuanced takes on the political scene coming up next here on Off the Bench.
Someone said add Livy. So there's that. Throw in the tag Sleepy Biden. That was another one. Yes, so like the tags definitely help. We got to get creative with the tags. So just keep helping us be creative with the tags.
Where are the tags at? How can I see them?
I don't think you can.
You can't see them?
I don't.
We're just making a list for tomorrow's show.
Okay, because I see hashtags in there, and one of them Xavier Musketeers.
That's drawing the views.
That one's bringing them in.
What are we doing?
Cincinnati.
What is this segment?
Cincinnati Bearcats. That one's also not bringing them in. So I guess those are just hashtags. Anyway, sorry to disrupt.
They said Laughing Kamala is another one. So just. Oh wait, never mind. I just see who put that one.
Kirby says put Chatterbox Reds in the tags.
All right, let's pretend to be a
I'm
sports
good,
show.
Kirby. I'm good with Chatterbox Reds being in the tags. I'm okay.
That was the most professional suggestion of them all, to be quite honest with you. Hey, let's pretend to be a sports show. In fact, is there sports going on? I think there's only one way to find out, and that is Elliot's headlines.
Whoa! Whoa! Sound effect. Headlines. The Cincinnati Reds, they've won a baseball game. Whoopee! They beat the Atlanta Braves 4-1. Hunter Greene tosses 7 innings of 2-hit shutout baseball while striking out 7. His ERA drops to, again, 3.14. Elly De La Cruz tripled, added another hit with a walk, stole a base as well. That dude's just the best. Will Benson contributed to the ball club finally. 2 hits, including a home run. Made a great catch, as Jimmy liked to say.
He did.
He also stole 2 bases. Probably the best game Will Benson's had this season, if I had to probably look back at it, right?
I would assume.
I mean, I can't remember a time he went 2 for 2 with a walk, 2 stolen bases, and a home run. So I imagine that's it. Noelvi Marte, he added a hit. Don't let him get hot. Don't let that average get to 175. Don't do it. Candelario, 2 for 4, 2 RBIs, and a double. Reds and Braves back at it tonight, 7:20. Chris Sale on the bump for the Braves. It might be a bullpen day for the Reds. I don't think there's an announced starter as of right now.
Noelvi Marte's last 8 games, he's hitting .259 with a .310 OBP, .407 slug, and a .98 WRC+.
What's he hitting for the year?
Well, you gotta take everything as it comes.
Yeah, sure. We'll just make arbitrary dates.
That wasn't in the tweet he read. So
Yeah, that's true. Around the league.
Yeah, you don't like small sample sizes unless it's Jonathan India.
Correct. Jonathan India's small sample size is the only one I
As
use.
small as they can go.
Around the league, Yankees, they obliterate the Rays 9-1. The Pinstripes hit 5 home runs as Juan Soto had 2 by himself. The Mets win 6-4 over the Marlins. Francisco Lindor added 2 home runs to help carry them home. He now ties Pete Alonso for the team lead at 19. Pirates, they win 2-1 over the Cardinals. Mitch Keller dominated 7 innings of 1-run baseball. Tigers crush the Guardians as Tyreek Skubal continues to dominate 7 innings, 1-run baseball, 6 strikeouts. ERA at 2.34. Jim, he's going to look great in a Cincinnati Reds uniform.
No, he's not.
Baltimore.
I think
Connor Phillips for Tyreek Skubal straight up. Who says no?
deal. I think the best part of that game last night was Jake Rogers actually hit our catcher. He hit a Little League home run.
Really?
Ooh.
Yeah, the Cleveland center fielder went to make a diving play in center. It bounced up off his glove, went back over his shoulder. Rogers is running around, visibly gassed as he's getting to third base.
Yeah.
And they cut back to him in center field, and the dude's just sitting there, like with his hands on his knees. And the right fielder comes in, picks up the ball, tries to throw him out at home. He got in under the tag. He was safe.
How about that?
Yeah.
Good for the Tigers.
Nick Martinez also was just announced as the Red Star.
Nick Martinez. Okay, that'll be good. This will be great for him. He'll be able to boost that trade stock.
Yeah, because he has great stats as a starter.
Great stats.
Dude, they're buyers. They ain't selling anybody. They won last night.
They're
dude.
buying. Yeah.
I did see a report, and I guess we'll talk about that
I
next
heard they're fighting
segment.
for Aaron Judge. Right?
Yeah, that's what they said too.
And Skubal.
There was a report by our good friend Gordon Whitmire. He reported it via the Enquirer. Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing?
What's the joke?
Who's having fun?
That's
I'm not
just
having,
good press box swag.
Now I'm laughing. So Gordon Whitmire had an article saying that the Reds are walking back the article that was previously released that they are going to be buying, or sorry, they're going to be selling any expiring deals. They're walking that back and saying they're not selling now.
Wish they wouldn't.
So interesting stuff. Twins, they came back from the early Bryce Harper home run, 2-0 in the first inning. I only mentioned that because I had first inning no runs. Bryce Harper had a 2-run shot at first, and then they lost 7-2. So don't go against Elliott. The Cubs used 6 pitchers en route to their 3-1 victory over the Brewers. Cubs back.
Buyers?
You ready? I had this ready to go. Home run leaders since May 26. Number 1, Anthony Santander with 18. Aaron Judge also with 18. Shohei Ohtani with 17. Ian Happ right after that with 14. RBI leader since May 26th. Ian Happ, second most in the league, 45 in the last 6 weeks. Let's go. It's the Morel blend. He's a coffee seller.
I think when
He
the
sells
Cubs
coffee.
when the
and
Cubs
he
come-
sells bombs.
And he's coming to Cincinnati
Yeah,
soon.
when the
so-
Cubs come, I'm definitely taking Hap to hit home.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
half
tell
home
the-
run.
That's
I'm gonna
all
tell
I
the
heard
Cubs
from
don't
that.
come. Do not
I'm going to come.
We're gonna have to
COME. The Rangers take care of the White Sox 4-3. Royals crushed the Diamondbacks 10-4. Bobby Witt, I don't know if anybody saw this last night. Bobby Witt was a single away from the cycle. It was about, I think it was late in the game, 8th or 9th inning. Diamondbacks then hit him with a pitch. Hit him with a pitch.
Just totally plunked him.
Nobody on the Royals were pleased. The fans were booing. Very, very interesting scene. It was 9-3 at that point. It didn't look at all intentional. But
Big fan if it was.
if it was intentional, what a move that is.
Yeah,
Hate
huge,
to be that
huge
guy.
fan if that was intentional.
Hate to
'cause
be that guy, but he did have another at bat after that, in which he didn't get a single. So
They should have hit him again.
yeah,
They should have hit
I
him
thought it
again.
was very
That would've
soft
really
that they
done
didn't do it back to back, to be honest with you.
it. Yeah, the unwritten rules of baseball,
This
man.
isn't the
That's kinda
WNBA.
wild.
You don't just give up layups, okay?
That's right.
Stray.
Was that a shot at the WNBA as a whole?
No, that's Angel Reese again.
Okay, it was just Angel Reese.
Yeah,
All right,
no,
just wanted to
just
clarify.
Angel Reese again.
Just wanted to clarify.
10:51. That's the time of the first Angel Reese stray. Let's go. Let's go.
that crushed the over though.
That did crush the over.
I'm a dog. You can't teach that.
Continuing. Rockies, they win 9-8 in a shootout with the Red Sox at home because the Rockies are a good team at home. Athletics shut out the Astros 4-0. Dodgers win 3-2. Teoscar Hernandez a 3-hit night, and he hit the go-ahead single in the 8th inning. Also, some news regarding the NFL. They are in serious discussions of going to that 18-game schedule I saw this morning. It looks like, I mean, we all know that's going to happen, but it's very clear that will probably be announced at some point during the season that they're going to go to 18, I'd imagine.
And it's looking at the year after next is what's being talked about right now.
Okay.
So this year at 17, next year at 17, and then move.
Do we
to
like
18.
that?
I like 18.
I don't dislike it. I don't like it. I don't.
I think 18 with 2 bye weeks is the best.
Can we start the season sooner?
I don't want to because I want Super Bowl on President's Day.
Okay. Well,
So you get a 3-day
even
weekend.
with that, remember they didn't say this was going to happen. It was that Burrow clip of adding the second bye week. If
You would have to.
if that happens. So
And finally, some other just random news. James Paxton of the Dodgers was DFA'd.
Ooh.
He was having a decent season, I thought, for them.
I remember last year when he was on the Red Sox, he was a big name talked about to trade for at the deadline.
Yeah, yep. And honestly, if I'm the Reds, I would certainly look at James Paxton. I don't understand why they did that. I imagine it was to make a move for somebody. Oh, it was for the number 4 prospect is why they did it. But he was having a hell of a season, I thought. So tough decision there by the Dodgers. But that's it. Those are
Another
your
DFA that could be interesting, Ty France.
I did see that as well. 'Cause
Mariners.
He was just having a bad year, though. Is that
He
what that
was, but career numbers are pretty good.
Ty France stats. Let's take a look at Ty France. Yeah, he hasn't been good. He hasn't been as bad as I thought, though. 67 hits. Yeah, not a good season, but I would look at Ty France for sure. If he's just free, if he's available to us,
Right.
why not?
it's right up the Reds' alley too.
The 20.
Yeah.
What was that?
I said that's right up the Reds' alley too. So,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's free. It's for me.
So yeah, that's it. Those are your headlines. And by the way, that's the end of the segment.
You missed. Well, you missed 2024 Ohio Little League State Championship. Big games last night, Elliot. How'd they go?
One of the teams won in the first one, and then the second game,
Another team.
another team got it done. I will say there was actually a really good catch out in the right field yesterday
Yeah.
in the second game. A diving catch it was a little dark out in the field. and the kid still made a hell of a dive and grab. Bad base running.
Bad base. It's all bomb too.
And we saw a home run over the Big Blue Monster.
Big Blue
They got a
Monster.
Big Blue Monster at Hamilton West Side.
Bad base running. The Reds leaving their impact on the youth of Hamilton. There
That's
you go.
true.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Off the
Another
bench.
lock of the day on the show, Nick Kirby coming at an Elliott take.
Oh, let's,
Why?
hold on, let's dive- what?
Why does he come at me so much? So we don't like Nick Martinez pitching tonight, but want James Paxton?
Yeah, Elliot.
Sorry.
Get Jimmy Paxton.
The Reds will be good in 100 years. Just keep trusting the process. I'll believe
See,
it.
in Kirby, I love that you chimed in, but now you brought our boy down. Look at him. Now
that's
he said
okay.
he was like
He
full of
sounds so
energy.
defeated
Yes,
right
he
now.
just.
Well, I just thought I didn't even do a shot at Kirby today, and he's coming at me. I didn't do anything wrong this time.
All right,
That's
will we
okay.
address Elliot's feelings.
Clip
in the-
my worst moment from the show again. 3 seconds. It'll go viral.
Was it that one? The one we're talking about?
It might. I don't know.
It's in the chamber.
Mouse Cop says, "Admit it, Elliot. You don't know ball." I do know ball. I know ball.
Lonzo, Lamar, all of them.
Yeah, big baller.
Lamar
brand.
ball.
I'm not-
And you wouldn't be a big baller if you didn't go to break right now.
That's true. That is true. More off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers when we come back. Remember, Elliot, it doesn't matter. They're just words. They don't. Oh, we're back. All right. Off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Elliot, we're just trying to get him. We're trying to get him back. You know, are you good? We're good.
I'm good.
Don't let people's
Lift your
negativity.
spirits.
I'm okay.
You know, don't let people's negativity erase your light, dude. You be the light.
I am the light.
You are the
I
light.
am the light. I'm the flashlight in the dark alley. I'm this dark alley actually right here. in
Where the
Hamilton.
Reds are looking for,
I am the flashlight when I walk through there.
where the Reds are looking for France, right there. So
That's
there you
right.
go. So, anyways, welcome back. Speaking of those Cincinnati Reds,
Thank you for welcoming me back.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Makes me feel good.
Yeah,
A lot of comments been made about your shirt today.
That's
I like
right.
it.
A lot of comments.
I can't tell if that. I think people are making fun.
They think it's a little small.
I like
They
it.
think it's
they're
small.
they're
They
making
think
fun.
it's small.
They think they're calling it a child's medium.
They said you're saving
No.
money on youth sizes.
It's a large. Is it just because I'm so buff?
Well, they said large. It's just kids large.
I've never been called a kid's large. Let's just put it that way. But the shirt fits fine, people. Okay, you know this is why I like radio.
Yeah,
That's why I like
that's
radio
true.
better. But let's just be real. But no, we didn't open up with Reds. Thought we'd mix it up a little bit. We talked about the Bengals' horrible owner and the Bengals' injury-prone quarterback and their diva wide receiver that'll probably hold out at some point. That's what we talked about in the first hour. There, are people happy now? People get what they want?
Yes.
Think.
Okay.
I think.
There.
I
We're
think
good.
I think they want you to either be super positive or slander, because if you're being semi-positive, they think you're being condescending.
I'm just trying to be the host. I'm just supposed to lob it up for y'all. My takes, I'm a little afraid to go back into my takes. By the way, Jacob's a hypocrite. You could tell who he respects and doesn't. He does not respect me. That's fine. Respect is earned, not given. But Trace comes in yesterday. Okay.
Oh,
And
this was great.
was
This
great.
was,
Made a good
this was
take.
great.
I don't even
No,
remember.
this was great.
I don't even remember what they were arguing about, but I watch Jake every time he disagrees with someone. The face he makes and the tone in his voice and the way he goes about telling you how wrong you are. I mean, it's borderline assault. Okay, and Trace comes in yesterday and basically just totally made fun of Jacob for his take, and I'm watching him and I'm like, oh, let's see how Jake responds to this. Oh, you're right. Yeah, and you coiled up. I mean, I looked at Elliot, and I'm like, what was that?
He made a good point.
No, he did.
He made a good point.
Jake, you talked about the power dynamic. Like, you were talking about that. Like,
I'd listen to
Kinner-
Mike Brown if he told me not to play.
Kinner and I say anything, and Jacob looks at us with such disgust. And he says, you guys are wrong, and everything you say is bad. And I'm going to make you know it, and I'm going to make you feel it. And then Trace walks in with his terrible take, and he's like, oh, that's good. That's real good stuff. I
never thought of it that way.
I think this is being spun.
Jimmy was here to witness that.
Oh, it was awesome.
He was eating his seaweed, though.
He
He was eating his.
By the way, I had some stuck in my teeth on the way home. Thanks for
Did
that.
you?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But no, yeah, you're right. You saw it.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
It was disgusting, is what it was.
I'm known as someone who's very flexible in my opinions, and
I
kind of
can't- I
mold
can't-
myself when new points are given.
Unless it's
so-
the worst take you've ever heard.
can't
Right. Yeah. Well, if Trace came in here and tried to dismantle the NFL draft,
Right.
I would have had a similar take.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what Jacob was like in that Alabama locker room. Nick Saban saying anything to him. Oh, Mr. Saban. Oh, Mr. Saban.
You're right. Ryan Day is bad. The Ohio Suckeyes, am I right, Nick Saban?
Oh, that's right.
Anything for you, Nick?
Jesus.
Jimmy would end that. Would just dig it in.
Twist the knife.
Jimmy Twist Knife. Jimmy Butterfied Blade.
Oh, man.
Jimmy Switchblade.
That's hilarious.
You had it coming. You
Yeah,
deserve
you know,
this.
if
deserve
someone makes a good take, I'll agree with it. But it doesn't happen a lot in this room, so I gotta stay on the other side.
this. I told Trace once the checks stop clearing, all of a sudden we'll see how.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Fowler.
That's right. That's right.
You're the only one that calls him that.
I don't think I've ever called him Mr.
He
Fowler.
does it every time. He does it every
Before
time.
he walked in, you looked it out. You said, my shirt looked okay.
Jesus.
Not me. My shirt apparently is too small. So
Jimmy with another quip like that, I'm to Venmo his dad back the money he paid me to be his friend.
Oh, see, that's the kind of mean, hurtful thing
That's mean,
that
yeah.
Jacob
See?
says.
he just has
That
that,
was mean.
built deep down inside him,
That
man.
was mean.
Jimmy's family is wealthy. A lot of money. Took a lot of money.
Bad bit.
He split it with me.
Hey, remember that bit when we said Jimmy's family had money? There
Yeah.
you go. Does your family have money? Mine doesn't. Hence the shirt.
What are we doing, guys?
Hence the shirt.
Let's get back to a serious sports talk show.
Yeah. Bottom line, to summarize, Jacob's a jerk. So, is what it is.
I wear it proudly.
Yep. Reds get a win. They're back, baby. They are back. They are buyers at the. So I did not see that. So there's an article that has come out that said the Reds are
Yeah.
walking that back.
It's behind
The
a
Reds
paywall, so
general-
I got the headline of it.
So,
but
we're good. Like, so Nick Kirby had talked about it on off the bench, or not off the bench, on Chatterbox Reds, that obviously when their general manager had come out, and this was the week before the All-Star break, the general manager for the Reds had come out and basically said, obviously, they're going to be keeping an eye, that they're not making any basically decision right now. And then, of course, yesterday, after they get swept by the Phillies, John Morosi comes out and says that the Reds are letting it be known to teams around the league that they could be looking to move off some expiring contracts. And now they're walking it back. This is like the fans do it. This is why they have that wishy-washy relationship with their organization. It's just because I think the organization has the same wishy-washy approach to how they make their decisions. By the way, I do not think it's a good decision to be set on selling, just like I don't think it's a good decision to be set on buying. I think that right now you still have time, not a lot of time, still have time to kind of scope out the situation, keep an eye on where you're at within the standings, keep an eye on the vibe of the team. I think that stuff is very key and smart as far as the front office is concerned. But I don't know why we got to keep talking to the media, telling the media what we're doing, then telling the media what we're not doing, walking it back 2 steps forward. It's like the cha-cha slide. Just stop talking to the media. At the end of the day, just know what you're doing in-house and keep it in-house. If you're asked about it, no comment. I mean, it's as simple as that. I just don't understand it, but that's why the fans are so wishy-washy with what they think the organization is going to do, because I think they're wishy-washy on what they think they're going to do.
yeah, I've been against the Reds speaking to the media for a while now, just because it seems like they're so bad at it. Unfortunately, it is part of all of their jobs where they have to make comments like this. And if somebody's going to write an article, clearly that I don't know if that was authorized or that quote was taken without context. I don't know what the initial quote was, where they were selling guys with expiring contracts. Clearly, the Reds front office didn't want the fans to think that way. Just another ploy to get the fan base to stick with them here through this next trade deadline. To be quite honest, I don't care what they do at the deadline. I think we've made that very clear in this room specifically. They can sell the guy again. Sell, when we say sell, expiring contract deals, old guys, Fernando Cruz, if he has any value left, Nick Martinez, Frankie Montas. Those are the guys you sell. And I'd argue getting rid of them doesn't really hurt this team.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about when we sell. We're not selling Spencer Steer, Elly De La Cruz, Matt McClain, yada, yada, yada. That's not what we're doing here. Buying, again, I'm not opposed to buying because yesterday I said it, and I have no issue with a team trying and openly trying to win games. And when you buy at the deadline, you're trying to win. So I have no issue with what they do here. They really can't go wrong because of how wrong this season has gone for them and for pretty much everybody here in Cincinnati. It's been brutal. It's been brutal to watch. And I know they're not that far out. They're only a couple games below 500. I understand all of it. Mathematically, they're very much still alive. But at the end of the day, do you really believe in this team? That's what it comes down to. And I don't think the talent on the roster at this very second is good enough and consistent enough to make a deep postseason run or make a postseason run at all. That's where I am as a Reds fan. And whether or not they want to say it to the media, don't say it to the media, I don't really care. Just go in, do your job, and not have us talk about it every single day because you don't know how to talk to the media. And that's been a clear story from the second Nick Kroll opened his mouth with the peaks and valleys, yada, yada, yada. It's just nonsense to me. So that's the only thing I took away. It's not a massive story. I don't believe anything they say to me, not one little thing. So you can spin it however you want. I'd imagine they still sell a couple pieces at the deadline, and maybe by maybe not even at the deadline. Maybe they go out and get a Ty France guy like that, because it's always been an issue with the last man on the roster.
What did you guys think of what came out about Luke Mailey's addressing the team?
I saw that.
You hear rah-rah stuff in football. You hear it in basketball. You hear about, especially like in basketball, you hear about players-only meetings. You hear that a lot. In baseball is more of a robotic sport. I mean, you don't really hear the rah-rah stuff, right? I thought it was interesting what came out about Luke Mailey. Basically, I guess he addressed the team before, and Hunter Greene addressed it in the postgame, talking about what that message was and what that message meant to the team and how they just came out with more energy and they came out more inspired, and it's because of the leadership of Luke Mailey. And I'm just kind of curious your guys' thoughts on that. I think baseball, because it's such a long season, you play so many games, you play every day, kind of hard to fit in a lot of that's a lot of rah-rah messages that have to be delivered for a 162-game regular season, of course. But overall takeaways, when you hear that and the thoughts on the players talking about that in the postgame, that they could have lost yesterday and that message still could have been delivered and they came out fired up and ready to go. But overall, thoughts on the Cincinnati Reds following Luke Mailey's rah-rah speech beforehand?
There's a certain section of the fan base that I think looks down at stuff like this. They'll see this and like, oh, he's not a leader. Leadership doesn't matter. Be better on the field. And to an extent that matters. But I think when you're the backup catcher like Luke Mailey, he has produced, I'd say, relatively nothing this season. I don't want to be disrespectful to Luke Mailey, friend of the program, but he hasn't had a great year. He's on the IL now. He's injured. To see him still be involved and being a leader of this clubhouse, I think it's important. I think it's that step that you take when you're a veteran in the league, and he's taken that step. And I like to see it. When you lose Joey Votto, a clear veteran presence, the leader of the team, you need somebody to step up. I've always thought it's been Jonathan India. Maybe it's not Jonathan India. Maybe it's been Luke Mailey this whole time. I don't know. I don't really care, as long as somebody's doing it. So if it helps the players at all on this team to have a guy like Luke Mailey pep them up, talk them up before games during tough stretches, then yeah, that means the world to me. I love it.
I don't know how I feel about it. And it's not how I feel about it in baseball. I guess it's like expectations. When you talk about, your team captains and stuff, Jonathan India is that clubhouse leader that everyone talks about. One argument you always hear about why they shouldn't trade him is because of that. But I don't know what that means. And like this, Luke Mailey is the first I'm hearing of a player that's stepping up to kind of address it in this way. I don't know. I don't hear about it with other teams. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I don't follow other teams as closely as the Cincinnati Reds. The bottom line is if it's happening and it's making an impact, great. That's all I care about. That the players still care. The fact that a rah-rah speech was delivered because, hey, at the end of the day, a veteran on the team said, look, guys, we got to figure this out. I don't know what the message was, but I do appreciate the fact that the players still care enough at this point. We're fatigued. Elliott's mentally fatigued right now when it comes to this team. We all are. We're really counting down the days till football starts because we're just kind of putting the Reds. We're trying to put it behind us to say, hey, this isn't the year. The fact that the players still believe that there's something left in the tank and that there's still a chance to make a run, I like. That's the message I take away. Not even knowing what the message is, to me, it just shows that the players still give a damn, and that's a good thing because they haven't checked out. Fans are fatigued. They should be fatigued, and they're not. They're still playing hard. That's a good thing.
Yeah, and stories like this are exactly why I always take, leadership of a player worth a grain of salt. I feel like no matter what happens in the locker room, someone will always step up. There'll always be someone who takes on that mantle. It seems like this year it's been Luke Mailey, which is great news to hear because obviously that's a position that someone needs to take control of, leadership. No one's going to argue how important that is in a locker room, but, I think it's always a little bit, you're making assumptions when you say some guy's a leader when you're not in the locker room. You never know who's leading the team, and I think if you asked a bunch of us yesterday or the day before who's giving a rah-rah speech in the locker room, no one's saying Luke Mailey. So, kudos to him for stepping up to the role.
Yeah, 100%. As long as they still care, as long as they're still fighting, that's all that matters. Kinner kind of said it, whether or not the fans think the season's over, it doesn't really matter because they're the guys on the field, they're the guys making all the plays. So if they're still mentally in it, that's what matters.
Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, right here at Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. We're going to do ads for the YouTube audience, of course, and we'll continue on with the radio side of things when we come back. More Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers.
It's coming to me. Well, hello there. Hey, guys. Thank you so much for being a part of the show today. I'm filling in for Casey as he was very, very sick. I felt so bad for Casey because he doesn't get a whole lot of time off, and his family or his in-laws, they plan this beautiful vacation, and he gets sick on vacation. I can't imagine something much worse. I hope you don't get sick next week when you go down to Hilton Head.
I better not.
Yeah, I hope you don't get sick because I can't imagine getting a week off and having to spend it all in a hotel room. That sounds tough. But I hope you feel better, Casey. If you're watching this show, truly do hope you feel better. All right, we got to pay the bills. Encore Technologies provides IT solutions for a data center world with a suite of services from mobile computing to desktop to data center, supporting both centralized and work from home computing modules to improve efficiency and Jimbo.
Productivity.
That's right. Visit encore.tech. The path to innovation begins here. And thank you to Pawnee, because we got a brand new shipment of Pawnee water sitting outside the door. Are you still drinking regular water? I'm not, because you know what I'm drinking? I'm drinking Pawnee water.
Good.
Slurp?
Did you know that alkaline water has been shown to have superior hydration benefits versus regular water in a clinical study? There's a new premium alkaline water out. It's Pawnee, and I got to tell you stuff, it tastes great. Made right here in Hamilton, Ohio, Pawnee uses natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing that many other brands use. The result is a healthy alkaline water that is also the best tasting water in the world. That's a quote. That is a quote, folks. Please visit their website at pawneewater.com. That's PAHHNI water.com to find out where you can buy this great tasting water at a store near you. Next week, my Chicago Cubs coming to town to play against the Cincinnati Reds, and I'm going to be getting my tickets via the Game Time app. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code OTB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code, spell out OTB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. They do have a lowest price guaranteed, so they can match any price you find anywhere else. They show you exactly where you're going to be sitting out on the field, and they tell you everything that you buy. They should tell you exactly how much money you're going to spend buying those tickets. Like I said, I've been using that app for many, many years before they were our sponsor here at Off the Bench, and we are happy to have them aboard. Thank you so much. Give us a like. We really appreciate that. For anyone that is, a local to Hamilton, Ohio, you know how important the West Side team is to this community. And tonight they're going to be playing in the Winners Bracket Championship. So if you're in Hamilton, come to the game. We're going to bring our video board out there. We're going to do something really cool and make the game really special for those little leaguers. It's really cool. I think Elliot saw this yesterday, seeing the players, you see a range of emotions, how happy they get when they put one to the gap. Just straight, they can't contain their smiles. Then you also see the lows when they lose to get eliminated, and you see the tears start flowing. It's just it's a
Kid tossed the helmet about 50 yards yesterday.
Yeah, it's a really organic experience, and you see how important sports is to growing young children, growing youth, and you see how cool it is for the community. I'm not kidding you. Saturday night when they played New Albany, those are the two teams. It was the first round. These two teams have played in the championship for what seems like years now. They played in the first round. Last year, New Albany went to the Little League World Series. Hamilton lost them on a walk-off in the state championship in the 12U. They played in the first round. There was 1,000 people, probably 1,000 people at Hamilton West Side. They play Galleon tonight. You can watch that on CBox Plus for any CBox Plus subscription. But, yeah, that does it for all the housekeeping things. Any other things you guys want to talk about before we get back to radio?
Do you think if Hamilton West Side Do you think if they played at Great American Ballpark, we'd actually get a decent-sized crowd into that place?
They might be able to outsell the Athletics.
Yeah.
They might be able to outsell the Athletics. I'm not kidding you. So I played for the All-Stars when I was 12. We made it to regionals. We were back then. Now every regional game is played on ESPN Plus. But back then, to get on ESPN, you had to make it to the regional championship. I fell one game before that in the regional semifinals. That crowd that I played for in the regional semifinals, I played in a state championship. I played in conference tournaments in college. I played, the Hamilton High baiting game gets a really big crowd. That game when I was 12 years old by far had the biggest crowd that I ever played for. It was really cool. They're doing the OHIO because you're representing Ohio. There was teams that we played. They were bringing their fans coming from like Washington Courthouse and Tip City, like all over the place. North Canton came to watch us play in Indianapolis. It's a really, really, really cool experience for these young kids, something that they'll hold on forever. And I hope Hamilton pulls it out. So, yeah, it was pretty cool. Pretty cool. They played
And James Madison might be there tonight.
Yeah.
So come see James.
All right.
Is he doing some PA?
I don't know.
He might call the game.
He might be there.
He might be the new candidate.
He
He might be the new candidate. All right, we're going to take 18 seconds and we're going to come back
18 seconds.
18 seconds is the exact.
It's the best 18 seconds in sports
It's
media.
you ready? I do this every time we do the ads.
Oh, I love it.
Here we go.
You're a little
Hang
zoomed in today, so be careful.
Hang on, I got to start down here.
Yeah, you got to
Look,
get
you
lower.
can see us on that screen. Isn't that kind of trippy? Look, I'm waving in the screen.
Everyone know who Connor Stallions is?
I do.
Yeah, but I heard no one cares about this.
Nobody cares. You saw the clip from the show yesterday.
I did.
I could tell. Look, I love college football and NFL season because that's when my show in Dayton really starts to heat up. People get real passionate about their particular teams. I didn't know Michigan fans existed until about 3 years ago.
That's right.
And I thought we sprayed for them, but they just keep coming back. And look, at the end of the day, those fans got beat up for many, many years. Many years, right when you talk about the rivalry between Ohio State and Michigan, and that's not really what this segment is about. But Connor Stallions, obviously, what was his role? What was his title again with Michigan?
Sign stealer?
Sign
He was
stealer.
spy.
But like,
cheater?
he's all those things. But like, he was an assistant
Coach's
coach.
assistant?
Yeah, I'm not really sure.
I'm not
They-
exactly sure.
They made up a title for him on Michigan's coaching staff. But no, in all seriousness, the biggest story in sports last year, at least in the college football side, was the ongoing investigation into Michigan for their sign stealing scandal. Now, I know the big debate that everybody has is, well, everybody's doing it. And I agree. Everyone, to a certain extent, is trying to find an advantage by, peeking across the sidelines to kind of see what, if they can kind of take something during a game. But in the way that Michigan did it, the way that it was just perfectly executed, going rogue basically is what they're trying to say that he did, to go to Eastern Michigan and stand on the sideline, wear sunglasses. He had Reed's mustache on. He went all out to try to be, discreet on the sideline at this game, to steal signs from Michigan State, this, that, and the other. He ultimately gets fired. Harbaugh's suspended multiple times. Coaches are fired. But Michigan fans keep on telling me that, well, they didn't do anything wrong. They didn't do anything wrong. Coaches don't get fired. Suspensions don't happen. You don't have all these things happen if nothing happened. So let's stop with that lame narrative as far as that's concerned. Did they win a national championship? Absolutely. Is there an asterisk next to it? For me, there always will be. Do I think that the impact of what they did led to a national championship? No, they're a super talented team. But that's what makes them even more pathetic. The fact that they were so damn good but felt that they needed to steal signs from Michigan State. Michigan State's a dumpster fire. What do you I could understand why you're trying to get an advantage over Ohio State. I could understand why you're trying to get an advantage over Alabama and programs like that. But Michigan State, Iowa, when there was stuff coming out about what they were doing at the Iowa game, I'm like, Iowa? That they don't even have an offense. Yeah. Like, what are you stealing from them?
Yeah,
Not
I
much
don't
to
get
steal.
it. But that's what's wild about all of this stuff. So I say all of that to say it was one of the most fascinating stories in sports last year, and I don't even think we know the ending to it. The NCAA has yet to come out and announce their findings. However, it was announced yesterday that on Netflix they will be releasing a new documentary in late August called Sign Stealing, and it's basically an opportunity for Connor Stallions to go and tell his side of the story. And I'm back and forth on what his approach is going to be. Part of it could be he's going to basically just save himself, save face, go on there and say, they made me do it. Here's what they had me do. Here's what they gave me to do this. I just don't know if that's going to be the case. What I think it's going to be is before, to control the narrative, I think that there's word that there should be some kind of punishment coming down by the NCAA, and this is a way to get out in front of it, control the narrative, make the NCAA be the bad guy, say, hey, we didn't do anything wrong, they're overblowing this, they're making up that. Then when the punishment comes down, they can control the narrative. I just find the timing of all this interesting. Good for Connor Stallions for trying to find a way, to extend his 15 minutes of fame. When you saw that this documentary was coming out, your initial reaction was what? Or did you not care? I guess that's the big question.
Yeah, I wish it wasn't this side of the story. I wish it was a documentary from the NCAA telling their side of the story, telling the investigation. I don't really know what to expect from Connor Stallions talking to the media. I feel like he's just going to kind of say more of the crap that we've heard from Michigan the whole time about nothing going wrong. I mean, you saw him at the national championship celebration, at the Rose Bowl. He's been around the program since he was removed from it, and he's obviously still a big fan. He wrote that 300-page manifesto or whatever else.
Michigan
so
manifesto.
yeah, I would expect this to just be whatever, a whole lot of nothing, a whole lot more nonsense talking about how they didn't do anything wrong and how they were just a talented team that won a championship. So I'm not too excited about it.
I think there's about probably 1 million scandals that have happened in the NCAA that we don't know about, and none of them obviously are going to be unearthed anytime soon. Granted, they were so blatant at their cheating that they got caught. I think this is an obvious puff piece that they're doing here on Netflix, and that's fine. They can do that, and people will watch it. I'm at the point where I don't really care. I think there's been so many scandals. They got caught cheating. Sucks, but at the end of the day, if you take away their national championship, they still won the national championship. So I don't know what that does. I don't know what a suspension does. I don't know what a playoff ban would do, because at the end of the day, they still won, and unfortunately, you can't reverse time.
Yeah, I really don't care that much anymore. I think at the time when it was going on, it was kind of frustrating. Just being from Michigan and hearing about all the Michigan fans just saying like it's not a big deal, this and that. Like, we're fine, we didn't do anything. He was working alone, and like as time passed and after they did go on to win the national championship, which they were the best team in the country, and it felt like by a pretty good margin. I think I've just kind of started to care less and less about the whole idea of them getting punished or something like that, because I really don't think anything's going to happen. And I do think that the possibility of Connor Stallions having worked alone be more and more likely, just kind of the more you hear about the guy with his huge manifesto and all these old videos of him like resurfacing on the internet, of like him screaming in his room wherever he is, watching Michigan screaming the fight song and stuff like that. I think he is a pretty rogue guy when it comes to Michigan football, and that's like his life. And I think that there's a possibility that he kind of just took it too far and used that to his advantage. But at the end of the day, I think that's what this documentary is basically gonna come out and say, that I'm obsessed with Michigan football, and I was just I took it a little bit too far. Whether that's true or not, hopefully it's not true and they did cheat, but at the end of the day, I think they were still the best team in the country, and this documentary isn't going to like really lead me to believe otherwise, that they actually did have some huge elaborate scandal that Jim Harbaugh knew about and didn't say anything.
Are you a Michigan guy?
I'm not.
Okay.
Not at all.
And it's fine if you are. I just didn't know. I know
No.
the Tigers and the Pistons. I didn't know
where
your allegiance was. And
my parents went to Notre Dame. My cousins are Michigan fans, but I always grew up.
I knew you were a Notre Dame guy. I just meant like if you.
No,
But
far
okay.
from it. But.
Well, with all of this, and then let me be clear too, punishment or no punishment, it ain't going to impact me whatsoever. I really don't care. It's just the fans continuing to act like they did nothing wrong. The documentary, I don't think we're going to. I mean, they're telling the side that we kind of already know.
Right.
We kind of already know what he did. We kind of know that he's not going to take accountability for any of it because he thinks he didn't do anything wrong. And by the way, the overall effort of cheating is not what pissed me off throughout the entire thing. It was the way that they gaslighted everybody else into the fact that they tried to be the victims. You had the crybaby head coach, Sharon Moore. Oh, that's my head coach, man. They're out to get it. I mean, that was absolutely disgustingly embarrassing.
Did he die or did he cheat?
Yeah. It was absolutely insane, like the gaslighting that they were doing. You have the J.J. McCarthy and the athletes wearing us against the world shirts. Like, what are you talking
Free
about?
Harbaugh.
Free
It's
Harbaugh.
a team-imposed suspension.
Yeah.
They weren't even smart enough to understand that, hey, free Harbaugh, are you protesting college football or your own school? Because your own school is the one that suspended Harbaugh for doing nothing, apparently. The bottom line is the gaslighting is what really kind of pushed me over the edge. Mm-hmm. The other way to look at this, too, let's say that he did act rogue and that he did go behind everyone's back to get these signs, right? And he gets caught. If I'm Jim Harbaugh, I'm furious at him. Right, you've worked around Nick Saban. You worked around Alabama. If a coach on a Nick Saban staff was doing stuff off to the side that nobody knew about, and it brought a negative light on the team that could have and by the way, very good team. They won the national championship. Imagine if a punishment had come down that kept them from playing in the playoff to win that national championship because of his efforts. Would you not be pissed at him? And you didn't know that was going to be the case. You didn't know that they were not going to step in and keep you from competing in the playoffs. So how is everyone still happy with him? They had clips of him still showing up to games, sitting with family members of current players.
Yeah.
So the family members of players weren't mad at him. I would be mad at him. If I found out a coach on my team was trying to put us in a position where, yes, thinking he's helping, but ultimately costing us a championship because you went rogue, I would hate that coach. I'd say, get that coach away from my program. I want nothing to do with them. But the family members of the coaching staff and the players were just welcoming him with open arms, hugging him. They were crying after they won the Rose Bowl and all this stuff. It was like, what in the world is going on? Trust me, he wasn't acting rogue as far as I'm concerned.
If he was acting rogue, that's a much bigger investigation that needs to happen. How do you have someone that closely intertwined with your organization and you have no idea what's going on, which is a much, much bigger issue for Michigan than if he was, working with the coaches. So, I mean, that's not happening at any big program. Nick Saban, Ryan Day, you can go down the list, Lincoln Riley. There's no way a major program is having, someone act rogue within their organization.
Oh, well, we'll see what happens with that. What's going on?
Nothing. I was just thinking, has the word manifesto ever been used in a positive context? Every time you hear the phrase manifesto, it's normally not.
What are you talking
good.
about, dude? Everyone does this. Everyone writes a manifesto. Everyone steals signs. Everyone cheats.
I'm trying to imagine what Jacob would do if he saw some other coach do it. Mr. Saban, and he's stealing signs again. Mr. Saban, go
Well, it
get
wouldn't
him.
happen
Go
in
get
Alabama
him.
because Nick Saban knows what's going on, unlike
That's true.
Harbaugh.
That's true.
Oh, valid. And Nick Saban, well, to be fair, though,
See how he shut down that bit so fast?
Yeah.
See how he shut it down? No fun.
Is Mr. Fowler here, by the way?
He
Maybe.
is.
No, Mr. Fowler's here?
Yeah.
Very cool. I have to tell Mr. Fowler hi before I leave today.
Yeah.
I brought him an apple, by the way.
No, that's good.
Packed his lunch,
Jacob already beat you to it, though.
Yeah.
That's right.
Brought 2 apples.
Yeah.
I brought him
Well,
donuts.
he brought a tangerine in.
I brought him coffee to his house before I got here.
Tangerine guy?
Do you think that the Connor Stallions thing had an impact on any game? Like, do you think they would have? Do you think they would have lost?
If it
a
didn't,
game?
why do it?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not mocking you. I
I-
thought about that at one point. I was like, all right, are we overreacting to this? But the thing is, they're not spending the thousands, millions of dollars that they did to send him all around
Yeah.
the country to do this. They're not doing all of that. And by the way, coaches, they're not wasting. I mean, you know this with the preparation that goes into every game. I mean, we talked to Tom Brenneman about how Urban Meyer, how different he is in the offseason versus when he was coaching. Tom said he's unrecognizable at times because he's just so locked in. These guys are so locked in that they're not letting things slip through the cracks. They're not to this extent. All right, they're not going to be able to account for everything, but they're not going to know that for 3 years that they had an assistant coach flying around to various opponents, stealing signs, and then also maybe not asking, hey, this binder of information, how did you get it? Like, come on. Like, at the end of the day, I don't think the coaching staff is wasting time utilizing this information to prepare for opponents if it is not benefiting them in some way. And I'm saying all of that while acknowledging that they were a hell of a team.
Yeah, they were a hell of a team.
Like, that's the thing that's most embarrassing about all of it. I'm curious, when the trash can banging, sign stealing Houston Astros scandal was going on,
Yep.
where were you guys with that? Because it's very similar. They go on, with the World Series and everything. People want to take that away from, not take it away from them, but not give them the full credit. That was a hell of that talent all up and down that lineup. One of the best
it was a good
rotations
team.
in baseball. That's what always cracks me up about this stuff is it's the teams that you look at and say you're good enough to do this without. You look at Barry Bonds. He was a Hall of Famer. He's a hell of a hitter. He had plenty of power. you just look at guys like that cheat to that level and say, you don't even need to, and yet you did it anyways. That's what always disgusts me about these. It's not when we talk about steroids in baseball for the longest time, there was a lot of fringe baseball players who said, well, if I don't take it and my career fizzles out, I'm without anything. I could at least take this, and it'll give me a chance to extend my career and make more money. And if I get caught, then I'm right back where I was if I wasn't taking it, my career fizzling out to begin with. Those guys, I understood why they took the chance. I've just never understood why the super talented players like that risked it all, but I do know it's the super competitive drive.
I want to specify that it's not like it's not a story of greed. It's not like the Barry Bonds, and that's an example that's always thrown around. Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds. These were Hall of Fame players before they took steroids. It's not an example of greed of, oh, I need to get better. The reason that they were Hall of Fame players before they took is because of their drive, because they were willing to do everything they could to get the edge. This same thing happens across life. People that are super successful are getting there by a mix of drive, passion, ruthlessness, and aggression. And sometimes you see that bleed over into, criminal or cheating and all these things. So that's where it comes from. It's not like, oh, he doesn't know when to stop. This is what got him here, and he's going to keep going until he's at the top. And he doesn't care what happens in the process. So that's just that.
All right, right back at you. Fight. No, we're not doing that. All right, more Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers when we come back.
One, two.
All right, welcome back Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Justin Kinner, read in for Casey today. We got Jimmy, Elliott, and Jacob hanging out with you here. Happy Tuesday. A couple of quick storylines around the world of sports to close out the show today. But how we feeling? How we feel? I mean, we got the band almost back together. Casey comes back for one day and then bails. But you're out at the end of the week. You're out for all next week, correct?
That's right. Bye-bye.
Maybe you might get sick.
Bye-bye.
You might get sick.
Tomorrow's my. No, I'm not getting sick. Tomorrow's my Friday.
might.
I'm out of here.
You see how sick Casey was yesterday? You might.
If I get sick, I'm not kidding. I will sue. I will sue Casey. I will sue his family, and it will be the end of the McCollisters.
Will you blame Mr. Fowler for letting him come in to work sick?
No, because Mr. Fowler had no knowledge that he was coming in. So I can't blame
Mr. Fowler's like
for
Jim
that.
Harbaugh. He just doesn't know what's going on.
I guess.
Mr. Fowler. Well, I hope you don't get sick. In all seriousness, but
hey, you know what? I hope you don't get sick.
I've noticed, by the way, when I do listen to this show later on, like everyone's constantly. I think we're all getting sick. We're all clearing our throats.
I do have to do that a lot. It's just allergies. My allergies
are
so
terrible.
worse. In fact, my allergies since I've started this job have gotten so much worse. I don't know what it is. I truly don't. But my allergies have gone up. Huh?
It's the Hamilton air.
I think it is. Something happens to my body when I enter Hamilton, and it'll never be the same again.
Curious your guys' thoughts on this with all the media days happening right now for these conferences. The ACC, when you walk into the media day, it's a big old banner. It has the SEC, it has all the logos of the teams, but what they're claiming, it's toughest non-conference schedule in the country. That's like when you walk in to the media days, it's just a big ACC sign. That's how they're welcoming in the media. That's how they're welcoming. That's their fame right now. That's the only thing that they can really kind of lead on. The toughest non-conference schedule in the country.
They are the whole country. It's Cal and SMU and Clemson and Florida State. I mean, they got 48 of the 50 states.
Is
in that
Cal
conference.
in there now?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Stanford too, right?
California, noted Atlantic coast.
Stanford too, right?
Oh
Yeah, I believe
no,
so.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Cal and SMU.
I knew SMU went, but
SMU went for free.
Well, this is what I'm talking about
We're
when
getting less than 1% of media do.
oh my god.
This is what I'm talking about when we were just like a few weeks ago, we were talking about how the big conferences are going to sell their naming rights and everyone's up in arms because it's instead of being the Big 12, it's going to be the All-State 12 or whatever it's going to be. The names of the conferences don't mean anything anyways.
Yeah.
The Big 10, are there 10 teams in the Big 10? Big 12, are there 12 teams in the Big 12?
There are 12 teams in the Pac-12.
Right. It's just like it literally means the only one that's kind of close is the SEC. And they got a team from Missouri. Nothing says southeastern United States like good old Missouri. Like these names mean nothing. So let's stop getting up in arms about everything.
I don't think I could pick out Missouri on a map.
Well, that's a problem.
It's the belly of the chef.
Come on.
It's the belly of the chef.
Do you know where the chef is?
Do you know what the chef is?
He has a hat.
So from Minnesota,
hat?
Yeah.
so from Minnesota down to Louisiana,
'Kay.
along the Mississippi, the western coast of the Mississippi River, it makes a chef. It makes a chef. Minnesota's his hat, Iowa's his face, Missouri's the belly, Arkansas's the legs, and then the feet are Louisiana. Go take a look at the United States map, and you'll see a little chef.
How about that?
He'll be cooking up something good.
What's
from
the
Minnesota.
boot?
The boots, I just said, Louisiana.
The state that looks like a boot.
Yeah, it looks like a boot.
Okay.
Wow.
His toes are little.
I've never noticed that
You never
before.
noticed that?
And I'm
It's a
never going
chef.
to be able to unsee it.
Right, it's the chef.
See, we educate people
That's right.
on this
Let
very
me see.
serious.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
say we
talk
didn't
show.
do anything for you today.
That's something I learned today.
Elliot, you looking it up?
I am.
It's like when you tell someone that the Brewers logo is the M and the
I also
B.
had to tell that to Elliot.
Yeah.
We were
That's
talking
the
about that
coolest-
yesterday.
That's the
ever.
coolest
Yeah.
thing ever.
What is the Brewers logo?
It's an M and a B in
yeah.
the mitt.
And it looks
Oh,
like a
yeah.
glove.
Okay, good.
A lot of people don't know that.
I thought I was on the outside looking in. Little afraid, to be honest. Hey, so remember what ESPN put out their list of their top 100 athletes of the 21st
do.
century? Did you guys know that Ric Flair's a little upset that he wasn't included? The woo.
Of the 21st century, he should not be included.
Okay.
But the 20th century, gotta have Ric Flair. We're talking a 16-time world champion there.
and it's real.
He's still athletic.
People were poo-pooing on him and all the professional wrestlers who said that there should have been professional wrestlers on the list. So I just thought that was interesting. Just thought it was interesting.
A John
That's all.
Cena, I would not have been upset if a John Cena was on that list. Would not have been upset at all.
What are you putting him right over Shohei?
I'll probably put him over like the random athletes that I've never heard of that are like track and field stars that have like one gold medal to their name, and it's like, oh, we're doing this one.
In the WWE World Champions more important than a gold medal?
I mean,
Yeah, sure.
depends on who
Fair,
talks.
okay.
I mean, yeah, what do you want me to do? Say no.
Let's go to our local Walmart and have that conversation.
I guess you're
I
right.
think you might get some different answers. Like, let's just be clear.
Well, you
No
could buy the
free ads.
WWE belt, in the Walmart.
toy aisle.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, there you go. Man in the street. That's your next task.
Go
right
to a
there.
Walmart
Yep.
and
and ask people wrestling questions. That's your assignment.
okay, I like that.
We can do that.
Unless you want to go ask more Reds questions outside the Great American Ballpark. or
Yeah, I
you
mean
wanna-
we're gonna have to do that, but I don't want to do that. We're gonna have to do it.
Get your belts. Get your WWE belt.
I will
and
go to a Walmart. That'll be the next whenever I will go to a Walmart and we will film inside the Walmart
Sam Darnold getting
and then
all.
get arrested and
and then
thrown
get
out.
arrested and thrown out. That video would do much better numbers.
And then the next show, that seat's empty.
That's right.
You should
And
do
this
a
one.
man on the street for the next time that the WWE comes in Southwest Ohio, either whether it be up at the Nutter Center or down in Cincinnati, and we'll ask some fans going into the arena.
That's right.
Be like, ask them some hard hitting question about the current state of WWE.
We should do man on the street for the Big Three coming to Heritage Bank soon.
Yo, wow, Ice
See,
Cube.
now we're
Stadium?
cooking. Now we're cooking.
What's it like to watch a middling NBA player past his prime play with other worse?
They'll
middling
love that.
NBA
50-year-old
players?
Joe Johnson
Yeah.
going cross ice. Yeah.
You're
That's
asking
so
people who
Joe.
spent $60 to watch that NBA player past his prime.
That's right.
Let's watch Lance Stevenson hit a three.
By the way, I did think that league. Did you think at one point? I thought that would turn into something semi-interesting because I thought bigger names. Like there was one point
They
where
had bigger names.
There was one point where Kobe had talked about doing it. There was one point where Allen Iverson did do it.
He did do it.
For a very little bit. When I saw that, like Tracy McGrady, when I saw some of those bigger names were semi-interested in it, I was intrigued. Not that you're tuning in to expect to see the old Tracy McGrady. You're just watching old Tracy McGrady, as far as that goes. Sam Darnold getting first-team snaps with the Minnesota Vikings. Thought that was interesting.
I love it. I think it's the right way to go with quarterbacks. When you draft a young quarterback,
Yeah.
if you don't think he's ready, I'd love playing another guy over him. I wouldn't play Drake May right away. I wouldn't play JJ right away.
Yeah, like what I think it was pretty well established that when they got Sam Darnold, that was the plan.
starter.
Right.
That was the plan, is that he wasn't going to start right away. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if JJ
Doesn't play this.
doesn't start a single game this year.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised about that whatsoever, and I think that's the right call. We lend ourselves, because we have seen such instant success stories, CJ Stroud, right? That they come in the league and they're electrifying right away. But there is a tried and true method to, hey, this guy's going to learn for a year, and then he's going to play. Who's the last guy that you can think of that sat a little bit of time? The idea was this guy's going to be the starter in the future, and it didn't work out to at least some level of success. I can think of one guy in the last 15 years, Trey Lance. Trey Lance had that. Yeah. Jordan Love sat for 3 years. We laughed. We laughed at the Green Bay Packers.
He's about to get paid.
We laughed at the Green Bay Packers for making that pick. We laughed at the Green Bay Packers for saying Jordan Love is the worst first-round pick since Sebastian Janikowski, right? And here he is. He's going to get paid $50 million because he's a pretty good quarterback, because they did it well. We laughed at the Kansas City Chiefs. Man, you got Alex Smith. You're making the postseason every single year. You're gonna draft the guy that was 500 in college, sat for a year. Hey, this guy's pretty good. We're gonna make the move to him.
It's
been pretty successful.
But you're right. But at the same time, look at where you drafted J.J. McCarthy. It's not like you had the 18th or 19th pick and you take a quarterback that might be a project. I think fans would understand. Also, it's easy to feel that way about a team that's not yours. I will say I would hate if my team drafted a quarterback and is going to sit him for a year or two, and then I'm just not patient. That's just why. It's not like a hot take. It's just I'm not patient. I mean, you get Joe Burrow, you want to see him play right away.
I was team sit Joe Burrow the first year.
I mean, they basically did.
Well, yeah, not by choice. That was why I was team sit Joe Burrow the first year, is because you kind of could foresee something like that happening with such a poor roster. Yeah, I think it's probably setting J.J. McCarthy up for the most success possible.
But he had Tyler Boyd, he had T. Higgins, he had Joe Mixon.
And Bobby Hart.
I mean, he took a bad offensive line to a Super Bowl. You can't use that
fair.
as an excuse.
That's fair.
That's true.
He didn't have Jamar in that first year.
Let's wonder what Mr. Fowler's doing right about now.
So you are in. You don't like the sitting for a year. You want to see them play. You want to throw them into the fire.
Mainly, here's what it doesn't matter if I like it or not. I think what it signifies is okay that he's not the quarterback you thought, because I just don't see like why would Washington not do that? Why would obviously you look at Caleb Williams and the Bears? Why would the Bears not do that? Like the teams that know that they have their guy, they're not doing that. Sam Darnold, to me, if he's if Sam Darnold's on my team and he's taking first team snaps as camp gets underway, I'm concerned. I'm concerned. I'm concerned my team did not get the right guy. But you are not wrong when you look at the fact that guys who have sat, I mean, technically Patrick Mahomes sat a year. Jordan Love sat more than 1 year. And that seems to be working out pretty well. And we'll get a more definitive take on that after this upcoming season, because that was his first real year last year. But he looked very solid, no doubt about it. I'm not saying it's the wrong way to go because it won't work. It's just in a copycat league, when you look at the blueprint to success, there's not many blueprints where that's where teams are trying to position themselves. I don't think they drafted J.J. McCarthy with the mindset of, I mean, like if J.J. McCarthy is who they want him to be, we're not talking about Sam Darnold, I guess, as the guy kicking things off.
Think about the last 5 quarterbacks that were drafted in the first round and had to sit right away, at least some extended period of time before getting to start. 4 out of those 5 worked. We're talking Patrick Mahomes. We're talking Jordan Love, those 2 guys we already named. Let's throw Lamar Jackson in that. He had to sit. He only started 7 games his rookie year. We'll throw your Browns. Baker Mayfield. That worked, right? He's a pretty good quarterback. He didn't start right away. He didn't start for the first, 4 or 5 games? Yeah. The only time it hasn't worked is Trey Lance. I think that this isn't projecting. I'm not saying, hey, you sit your first round quarterback, you guarantee him to be good. No, it doesn't work like that. I'm just saying that you do set him up for a better ability. This was the tried and true method in the NFL for 4 decades. You draft a guy, he doesn't need to play right away. You get a veteran to start. He learns the ropes. It's such a faster game. It is such a different game. We always talk about the differences between the NBA and college basketball. The difference between NFL and college football, I would argue, is more vast, is more expansive, because the game happens so much faster. The players are the best players in the world, and it's going to take time to learn that. And whether you do it in training camp or you do it right on the field, we don't want to kill the man's confidence. We want, and we know J.J. McCarthy, who had a great. Well, I was going to say that he clearly his mental well-being is very valuable to him.
Yeah, that
just by the way that he goes out. I don't want to throw him in the fire and put him in a situation where that doesn't work.
No, I'm only laughing because he's the only guy I know that does meditation
only
out
in front
the
of
open.
Cameras.
Yeah, like meditation's usually something you go to a quiet, dark room and do to, zen.
Yeah.
But he goes and sits by the goalpost and
he takes his shoes off and he makes sure he can feel
Yeah.
the turf in his toes, and he talks about his underage girlfriend.
What a loser!
Oh, Jacob, a legend, a legend. Say a legend.
A legend.
You guys are big on the alleged, huh?
Listen,
You're selective.
I'm normally on Reed's side with this, where you sit JJ McCarthy, but What's he learning from Sam Darnold? Like, what do you gain?
It's
from,
not. Listen, I think it's not.
But if
it has been labeled as a mentorship, right? You sit behind someone who's established the game, and you're going to learn from him. But it's more about just being a professional athlete and the differences in that. Playing up against other professional athletes in practice every single day. Being in an NFL. He's got a lot to learn from the Vikings coaching staff. And Sam Darnold hasn't been great.
Horrible. He's been horrible.
He's been bad. But I think Sam Darnold can win some games with the Vikings this year.
Oh, I don't.
I'd agree.
That's where I disagree, and I think I know the Vikings have a great situation. I know Jacob made the joke yesterday that even I could quarterback the Vikings to a couple of victories, but Sam Darnold has had a bad career.
I don't think Sam Darnold's that bad.
I think he's been pretty bad. He's almost got an even touchdown to interception ratio. He completes less
with
than
the Jets. Terrible era.
He completes less than 60% of his passes.
Probably classes too.
And classes. I just don't think if your guy's not better than Sam Darnold, Reed is 100% right with everything that he's saying. Take the time, have him learn to be a professional athlete.
Well, I mean,
but at the same time,
it's not a better or worse thing.
Baker played behind Tyrod Taylor,
no
right?
one thought Baker was worse than Tyrod Taylor.
In fact, that was the big. But,
no one.
But no, but everyone, no one wanted that.
NFL.
The Browns were wrong for that. They were straight up wrong for that. That's what everyone said. You don't take a quarterback with the first overall pick and play Tyrod Taylor. That's what this reminds me of.
Were they wrong?
I think they were right with that.
Look how they were ass, and for the first 2.5, they couldn't score a point. All of a sudden, Baker takes over. They go on and win 7 of their last however
and
many
who's
games.
to say that him sitting behind him isn't the reason for Baker taking over and winning you guys your only
just can't
playoff
see
win
that
in
Baker was
franchise
bad.
history?
There's no way Baker was worse than Tyrod Taylor for 3 weeks. Or it was actually only 2 weeks. For 2 weeks, and then in
That's
week
not the
3,
argument.
It's not a better or worse thing.
It's not the argument. It's the learning the game.
But these quarterbacks are coming in way better than they've ever been.
It's the same thing that we do in baseball. It's the same thing we do in baseball when there is a top prospect in AAA and you've got a middling shortstop. You got whoever. I'll just throw out a name. You got Elly De La Cruz, number 1 prospect in the country, and you got Kevin Newman playing shortstop. It's not Kevin Newman's better than Elly De La Cruz. You just don't want to throw him out there, have him struggle, and then
But that's why no one cares
player.
about the baseball draft is because we're drafting guys for 3 or 4 years from now. The NFL, if there's just way too many examples of QBs who come into the league and can play. Are they coming in finished products? No, but they are coming in ready to play. Like Caleb Williams is an NFL quarterback with still a lot to learn. Same thing with obviously Jaden Daniels. Baker Mayfield came in and could play right away. Joe Burrow came in and could play right away. Jalen Hurts did not start right off the bat, came in, could play right away. These guys could come in and they could play right away. McCarthy, and now you bring up the other. So when Patrick Mahomes comes in, he's also behind a playoff quarterback. I mean, the Chiefs were already a well-oiled machine. He was that missing piece to kind of elevate them, obviously. You look at Jordan Love, he's not going to come in and play over Aaron Rodgers. All right, so that wasn't going to happen. But you look at this situation, it's Sam Darnold. And Sam Darnold, by the way, the reason I'm down on Sam Darnold, like Elliott, the expectations. He was supposed to come in. I mean, the Browns had that number 1 overall pick. I remember there was talks of Sam Darnold saying, I'm not going to come out of the draft if I have to go play for Cleveland. And now Cleveland dodged the bullet by not taking Sam Darnold as far as that's concerned. He was bad. He did not live up to expectations at all, but he's just good enough to keep floating around the league. I don't think there's a right or wrong way. I just know as a fan of a team, I would hate that to be the direction that they go in.
I understand what they're saying. I just think that you're not trying to win games if let me rephrase. If you think your best chance to win games with Sam Darnold in week 1, do it. But I'd argue J.J. McCarthy, if he's not good enough to be a better quarterback than Sam Darnold, you took the wrong guy.
What if you think your best chance to win a 2025 Super Bowl?
I was going to say, this isn't
year?
about this window because
Right.
I think the Vikings look at what the NFC North is right now, and I think the Vikings can win games this year, but I think they're looking at the rosters being built, and they're the 4th worst team.
Yeah.
They're the 4th best team, I should say.
You can't, real quick, with all the, and I only disagree slightly because that is a talented division. I agree with you on that. And if they're the 4th best team, it's not like they're a bad team. You can't look at all the weapons on that team on the offensive side of the ball, from the run game to the 2 wide receivers to the tight end.
They can win, no doubt about it. They can win 7-8 games. But you're looking at a team. You're looking at the Lions are going to be conference contenders for years to come unless something blows up. Mm-hmm. The Packers, who were the youngest team to make the postseason in 40 to 50 years, look like they're going to be contenders in that division for years. And, the Chicago Bears got the highest touted prospect that we've seen in a decade, and they have built around him. And you're looking, I think the Vikings can win 7, 8, 9 games, and even if they had Kirk Cousins, they might be able to compete for a playoff spot. but they're looking at their division and say, hey, our window is it right now? Our window is to develop J.J. McCarthy, and maybe 2-3 years down the road, we are really, really good. Let's not rush things. Let's not rush things. You don't have to take the girl home on the first date. You can lay it out for a long time. Hey, let's go get dinner. Let's go see a movie. Let's go see a concert before we rush this. That's all I'm saying. You don't have to do everything night one.
I mean, have the house clean just in case. Dirty drawers on the floor. Let's be real.
The amount of times I clean my room before I go out and then just come home to a nice made bed, all alone.
Same.
What? We're done. Off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. Would you look at that? It's 11:49.
Oh, Mr. Saban,
Mr. Saban, Mr. Fowler, Mr. Saban.
Mr. Saban.
I'm not joining in on this because last time Jacob said something mean. So.
That was an all-time. That was an all-time
Time
rebuttal
out,
by
time
Jacob.
out.
I thought it was pretty good. The funniest part about that was it didn't get an audible laugh from anybody, but it was so mean and hurtful that it was very.
I thought I
Yeah.
delivered it well, too.
You did.
Yeah, you did.
Because everyone, it was so mean that we're like, we can't laugh at that. Like,
We were slap boxing with Jacob. We were slap boxing. We're, poking, prodding, and all this stuff. Jacob said, I've got a nuke, and I'm going to drop it on you, Jimmy.
It almost makes me think he's been thinking about that, saying that for a while.
I think many weeks. Many weeks.
you see Mouse Cop's comment. I don't know who he's referring to, though.
Who was he referring to?
Who is he
It could be
referring
me.
to?
I'm Serbian.
I'm half Hispanic, so.
I'm French and Ohioan.
Oh, Mr. Fowler is very good at this.
Reed, what are you?
What? I don't even know. I'm
married.
giggling. I'm giggling at Sean Connor's comment. That's
I saw that one too.
that's a funny story.
So Sean Connor's definitely. I mean, never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I will say I don't understand. I mean, like if you guys think that J.J. McCarthy isn't the best option to win right now, I still don't understand.
But that's not what it's about. That's not
I
about
know, but I
winning
think it
this
is
year.
about. I think it is about that because I think you have a loaded roster and you're trying to win football games and you drafted a
Loaded
guy.
roster.
Yeah,
They
that's
have
a loaded
They have
roster.
a loaded
I'll take-
offense.
by the
Their
way,
They have
weapons
a
are good.
loaded
offense.
They
That's
have
okay.
a loaded offense.
They have the
Their
worst
defense.
defense in the NFC North by like a long
Now, don't get it wrong. All four teams in the NFC North aren't stacked defensively. It's going to be It's going to be a high scoring division. It really is. I think that the Lions can be a lot better. I think the Bears can be a lot
Bears'
better. I think the
defense is
Packers
good.
is what it is. But like, I just don't think you have to rush anything. Knowing it's like if you were in the American League East. It's like if you were in the American League East, you see the Orioles, they're going to win 100 games. You see the Yankees, they're going to win 90, 96, 97 games. And you are the Boston Red Sox or the Toronto Blue Jays, and you're like, we can win 84 games, win 85 games, but
Then to me, what they should have done.
What's the rush?
Then to
what's
me,
the rush?
Well,
they still can like J.J. McCarthy. They still can
that's
like.
fine.
We're talking about a guy that didn't throw a whole
But
lot
to
in his
me,
college career. They
the
can still like him as a prospect, but he's still going to need time to develop.
The Justin Jefferson contract is I would be all for that if they'd used Justin Jefferson and had traded him to get a buttload of picks and then start drafting and loading up on the defense and say we're a year or two away for our defense and offense to kind of match up. You drafted out. But when you gave him that extension, that was a win now move to me. That wasn't a win later move as far as that's concerned. Bottom line is to me, all I read into this is they did this because they're just not sold on J.J. McCarthy. That's all. And the Sam Darnold move, it's not like this was the plan from the beginning.
I think it was. This was announced like pretty quickly after JJ was drafted. That
But
Darnold
teams
was gonna start.
teams always do we're going to say the right thing and do it, and then it's like, okay, we tried, but we need to get him out there. And if that's the case, that's a good thing for him.
You just insinuated that we're going to say the right thing. We're going to do the
Not do the right thing. Teams say the right thing all the time. They want to try to sound like they're the smartest man in the room, but the thing is, 90% of the league doesn't do it this way. They don't. They just don't do it. I mean, I'm not a fan of this way or this approach. So we'll see what happens. But I just don't think you signed Justin Jefferson to that extension if you're not trying to win now. But we'll see. Man, very passionate Vikings fans here.
It's an extension because you get them for years to come.
And you just waste one? You just waste one of them.
Well,
by
if you're going to
playing
be better
Sam
in year 3, 4, and 5
Darnold?
of that extension by sitting JJ this year, why? Like, isn't that a winning move?
I just don't think you draft a quarterback in the top 10 when you have Justin Jefferson, Addison, and the tight end and the run game that you have, and just say, Sam Darnold, go get him, buddy. Like, I don't know. That's all. That's the other thing too. If the defense is bad, that's why you don't play Sam Darnold. If the defense is really good and it can protect the offense from not being very good, fine. But again, we're hearing how great J.J. McCarthy is. To me, I just think that he gives them the best chance if he's who they say he is. If not, then they didn't get the right guy. So we'll see. Very passionate Vikings fans.
It's just like you went down the list of all the quarterbacks that have come in and immediately made an impact, and there's a lot of them, right? C.J. Stroud from last year is the one that I'm thinking of. But, like, I think I made a pretty good counterpoint in saying, like, the last 5 guys that have sat behind, 4 of them have worked.
And Jalen Hurts as well.
Yes, 5 out of 6. That's a pretty good success rate. That's a pretty good
And
success
up until
rate.
about a decade ago, this was the norm for quarterbacks.
But if that's the success rate, then the rest of the league would be doing it on the norm.
I think
And
they
they're
should
not.
be. That's my thing, though.
But
It
they're
used
not
to
because
be
like,
the
if Bryce
norm.
Young would have sat, he would have been in a
But
better
it used to
spot.
be the norm because those and this goes back to, I think we're all arguing kind of the same thing in different ways. I'm arguing that you drafted J.J. McCarthy in the top 10 thinking he's going to be something, and he's not. And that's why I don't think they're doing it because they're the smartest team in the room, and by golly, they're going to ease him into it. I think they're doing it this way because he's not ready. And you talk about all the teams that have done this back in the past, that's because QBs weren't as good coming out of college as what they are right now. We've talked about how advanced the offenses in college are, and that's why how much better these quarterbacks are coming out of the draft. That's why they're coming in and making an immediate impact. That's why, I mean, that to me has been the biggest change, and we've seen that's why, by the way, the NFL is going and getting offensive coordinators from college to come in to be head coaches at times because they want to replicate a lot of that. But I wasn't expecting this to take this long on this argument.
Well, it's just great. Like my only argument against them is why pay Justin Jefferson if you're going to waste a year of his career? And that's
that
what
was
you
me
are,
and you were on the same page.
And that's what you are doing if you start Sam Darnold. You can say that's not what they're doing, but it's so obviously what they're doing. It might still be the right move. I'm just saying, why are you paying Justin Jefferson? What's
Think
100?
of it
What?
like
How many years?
Think of it like a premium. Think of it like a premium where you're just paying him extra for the years after that.
Yeah.
You're think of it like that.
It's a $40 million 4-year contract.
It's a yes, right. Instead, you're just paying a premium for the best receiver in the league for 4 years instead of 5, and you're just extending the warranty. You're extending your loan payments.
Yeah.
But how are you, like, so the other day we talked about this, like we were on the same page about this. I thought, like, we love what the Bears are doing because they're drafting, like, you're a double agent. You say, love what the Bears are doing. You love what these teams that draft the quarterback are doing where they give them all the weapons and throw them out there. But now you're a fan of sitting Cheater McCarthy?
Yeah, I think you either put every dollar you have into the offense to make sure your quarterback succeeds or you sit him.
But what have the Vikings not done to make sure
their
he'll
O-line's
succeed?
very good, and if you think JJ can benefit from a season on the bench, I think you do that. It's quarterback basis.
Yeah,
if you think Caleb's ready to go, you play him with great weapons. If
Now-
you don't think he's ready to go, you sign someone and sit him.
Why not bench Justin Jefferson then? It's just like if they're not ready to go, why are we even risking injury for him?
It's not about injury. I'm not benching JJ because I'm worried about him getting hurt. I'm benching JJ because I think he's going to be a better quarterback next year by having the year on the bench with one of the best.
And maybe they should have drafted an
quarterbacks.
offensive lineman with that top first round.
You're saying that this is an indictment on JJ and they don't think JJ's ready. I didn't take it as that at all. Like, I don't think this is an indictment on JJ.
Because your argument is you sit them to let them get ready to play.
Right.
No, that's not. Because you said that sometimes even if they are capable of playing, because like you said, Baker was good enough to probably start right away, but you like that they eased him into it.
Patrick, you think Patrick Mahomes showed up at camp worse than Alex Smith?
Mahomes, that story's a little bit. Alex Smith is a very good quarterback.
Do you think Patrick Mahomes showed up to camp week 1 and was worse than Alex Smith?
Yes.
No,
Patrick Mahomes is probably
5,000 yards his first season as a starter.
Yes, I do. I think there's no world where you bench Alex Smith for Patrick Mahomes that year. There's no world.
As weird as it sounds,
Alex was a good
Alex
quarterback.
Smith was a proven NFL quarterback.
He was, but Patrick Mahomes is probably the second greatest quarterback to ever play the game already in his fifth year.
Sure.
6 years as a starter.
Now,
he didn't show up worse than Alex Smith.
But like
Alex
Carson
Smith
Wentz
didn't throw a touchdown to a wide receiver the 2 years before Mahomes.
Carson Wentz ended up not being very good, but at the time that they drafted Jalen Hurts, Carson Wentz had proven at the time, oh man, he He looks really, really good, which made it silly to go get Jalen Hurts at the time in the eyes of many. Patrick Mahomes, you have Alex Smith, that was looked at as, well, we're built for right now, and then we're going to build around Patrick Mahomes after. But all of them went into situations where it didn't make sense to put them in over. This doesn't make sense to not put them in over, I guess is my point.
For what it's worth, we are forgetting that this was part of the roadmap for the Vikings.
Right.
They could have re-signed Kirk Cousins if they wanted to. They decided, no, we're going to go draft a quarterback. That's what we did. This is part of their roadmap. They could have Kirk Cousins, Alex Smith comp. That's a pretty good comp.
Yeah.
Right there. And instead they said, I wanted, and it was pretty leaked pretty early, right? They're going to load up. They're going to try and get J.J. McCarthy. Everyone kind of circled J.J. McCarthy to the Vikings pretty early on. They wanted this guy. And we can say what we want about J.J. McCarthy's college. He didn't throw the ball a whole lot. But the word on the street from people that have seen him compete, seen him throw, seen the skills and all this stuff is that he's pretty talented. He just played in a system where he didn't need to do anything to win a national championship. And that's part of the reason.
If Harbaugh had Joe Burrow, I highly doubt he's having Joe Burrow hand the ball off 85 times. I don't know. I'm not sold on JJ, but I probably just hate him because he's a Michigan guy.
Okay, so if JJ McCarthy throws 50 times, what happens with Michigan? They win more?
If he throws 50
They didn't need him to, they didn't
so
need
if
him to throw.
LSU had a great run game, which I think everyone would rip a head coach if you have a talented quarterback and you just don't let him throw. I think they protected him. You saw when he threw.
I don't think
Pick
LSU
six.
had even
What's-
close to
what's-
a run game that Michigan had.
I think this is
didn't
correct.
need to.
That's,
Clyde
that's,
Edwards-Helaire,
that's,
yeah.
that's absolutely
So if that LSU
correct.
team had the running backs that Michigan had, you're
They would have
saying
thrown
that
the ball less.
That less to the point where they didn't even throw a
No,
pass
I'm not
for
saying
2.5
JJ McCarthy's as
quarters?
good as Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I think that's also the point that I want to get to here is in my defense for all these guys that have sat for a year. It's those guys were pretty highly touted prospects, except for I guess Jalen Hurts wasn't. Maybe I don't know. Baker Mayfield, even though he was the first overall, no, it kind of surprised people when he was taken first overall. But we're not saying J.J. McCarthy is going to be that elite guy. I don't think anyone in their right mind has that opinion to say I'm watching J.J. McCarthy practice. I'm watching him. I've seen all the skills. This guy is going to run the league for years to come. I don't think anybody's insinuating that. But I think that J.J. McCarthy has the ability to be that consistent 10-win guy. That consistent Alex Smith guy where they're constantly making the post. I think J.J. McCarthy has that in his bag where he is a top 15 to top 8 quarterback in the league.
I just don't think teams draft quarterbacks saying, I hope he's a top 18, 15 quarterback. I think they draft him thinking he is going to be the guy that's going to run the league. That's the ego of the guys in the front office. So, I'm not disagreeing with you. If at worst he ends up being that, you got a pretty good quarterback. I just don't think that they drafted him in the top 10 to come in and just be a guy that.
There's people that get drafted like that all the time.
Yeah.
There's
But
people
that's
that
not,
get drafted like that.
But I don't think
People
that's
that
their
draft in the
mindset. Those
first
are the
pick.
worst quarterbacks to have. Those are the one. That's your Andy Dalton. That's the worst quarterback to have. I would much rather have a quarterback that is god awful, so that you know that he's god awful, so that you know you have to go get a different quarterback.
We're not doing Andy Dalton strays today.
I liked Andy Dalton. I wasn't, but
You just said
Andy
he's the
Dalton's a
worst
dangerous
quarterback to have.
No, it's a. Hold on.
actually agree with
you
that.
guys know. You know
The
what I'm talking.
purgatory quarterback's the worst quarterback to have.
This is not a danger. This is not a shot at the Bengals. Andy Dalton is a dangerous quarterback to have because he's just good enough to win you games. He's just good enough to keep you at the top of the division or contend. He's just good enough to get you to the wild card, but he's not good enough to take you to the finish line. So then when it's time to pay him, and I think that's what the Dolphins are doing with Tua. I think he's ultimately going to get paid. I think the Packers are a little nervous with Jordan Love, although you like Jordan Love. I just think that Baker Mayfield, when the Browns were with Baker, I was like, I like Baker, but I'm watching what the Chiefs did with Patrick Mahomes. He's not that. He's not this elite level quarterback, and we got to pay him because the market says we have to. To me, I like when a quarterback lets me know, I'm bad, don't extend me, move on, or, okay, I'm definitely worth it, let's go all in. Remember when Andy Dalton got signed, people lost their extended, and it wasn't even the top 5 contract. People lost their minds because the Bengals extended him. Because it's hard to find an Andy Dalton. But Andy Dalton also doesn't get you to the promised land, which led to the whole drama in the 2010s to begin with the Cincinnati Bengals. That's all. What were you saying, though? Did you agree with that or no?
Yeah, he was saying
I agree with the Dalton that the purgatory quarterback's the worst quarterback to have.
Purgatory. Okay, I like
Yeah.
that. I like it.
That's just what I've always heard it called. Like the guy that gets you to the playoffs and never gets over the hump, never gets out of the second round type of thing. I think that, it's a tough spot to be.
As a Browns fan, I would have killed for an Andy Dalton in the
I
mid
guess you're right.
2010s. Let's be real. I just think it's all, nonetheless. Hey, we're out of time.
Yeah, we are.
Out of time. It's your Thursday, dude. It's your Thursday.
It is my
see,
Thursday.
See
How do you
the
feel?
smile? Look at this, dude. This is weird.
Feel good?
Happy
I feel
Elliott.
good.
You bounced back from earlier in the show?
I feel good. I bounced
Dude,
back.
are you okay? You all right?
I'm ready to roll.
You look a little. Jacob, doesn't he look a little sick?
Looks a little, yeah. I
Are
heard
you
him
okay?
sniffling
Your
a
voice
little
sounds a little scratchy. Are you okay?
I'll cough on you. That's what I'll do. I'll cough right on your face. Then we'll
Don't
see
threaten
who's-
me
then
with
we'll
the weird time.
Then we'll see who's laughing.
All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you. Until tomorrow, this has been Off the Bench, presented
I'm James Madison.
by Dairy Farmers. Thank you.